Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the BCC's regular meeting of May 1st, 2025. Please turn your cell phones to vibrate, silence, or offsetting. The Board of County Commissioners allows for any person to speak regarding any item on the agenda limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise determined by the chairperson. Depending on the number of speakers tonight, we may have to look at that. To allow sufficient time for all speakers, speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, protests, or other conduct which interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Upon completion of the public comment period, discussions is limited to board members and questions raised by the board. Commissioner Strohberger, you have the invocation?
Yes, sir. Pastor Gary Porter, please.
Please rise.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, in the mighty and wonderful name of Jesus, we approach your throne tonight, and we thank you. I thank you for each one of these elected officials that are here tonight serving you. I ask that you give them a spirit of unity and wisdom and understanding to guide and direct the business affairs of this county. Father God, galvanize us to move forward that we might be prosperous in all of our ways. Utilize all of our understandings to your glory and to your honor. We submit ourselves to you. We are servants of the kingdom, not just the kingdom of this world, but your kingdom. We give ourselves to that attention. So we thank you. We honor you, and especially this day, the National Day of Prayer, we worship you for who you are and for what you've given us in this great nation as we celebrate you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Everyone, please join me in the pledge.
Thank you very much, Pastor.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Okay, Commissioner Barry, are there any items to add to the agenda?
No, sir.
Commissioner May?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Strohberger?
No, sir.
Commissioner Hopperger?
No, sir.
I don't have any either. All right, can I get an adoption to?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please vote. All right, we'll do a hand vote just because I think we could have a lot of speakers tonight. Motion passes 5-0. Commissioner Barry, Commissioner's Forum?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be very brief. I want to congratulate Tate Baseball last week. They won a best 2 out of 3 against Jacksonville Beach Fletcher and moved on to the regional quarterfinals this week to play Buchholz. So I wish them the best of luck. They lost the first game last night, play again this evening. And I want to wish good luck and best fortunes to Northview softball tonight. They play at Jay for the District 1 Rural Championship. The 2 weeks, 2 out of the last 3 weekends, we've gotten to take part in some competitions with the Escambia County Public School District, and want to congratulate Keith Leonard on, coming to the close of what I think has been a very good school year. But 2 weeks ago, there was a Sunshine State math competition that was held at Washington High School, and this past weekend was a Battle of the Books competition also held at Washington High School. Hundreds of young people, as well as hundreds of educators and teachers and sponsors that work with the young people after school. I doubt there's a real any overtime or additional pay for those sponsors that work with the readers and the math competitors. And Assistant Superintendent Denny Wilson, who many of us are friends with, was there to present the winning young people and winning teams. And but they were lovely events to be a part of, and like I said, I think Keith's wrapping up a good, successful school year, and look forward to our continuing partnership with them on multiple different levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barry. Commissioner May?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. First, I certainly want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Strohberger for supporting the Rosamond Johnson. They were in public forum, and this morning I want to thank the clerk for. I did not know what the host committee was, and to our attorney, I got it now, and so it's going to be an opportunity when you have the ROTC, the Navy, the Park Rangers, and this entire community recognizing someone who at the age of 15 went into the United States military and lost his life, saving 3 other people who didn't even look like him, that was not of the same complexion of him, but went in and got 1, 2, and on the 3rd person lost his life. And now we have Johnson Beach, which is named after him. And so we certainly encourage people to attend this Saturday at 10 o'clock. I know 2 of my colleagues have already indicated that they will be there, but what an issue. And for my parents didn't have an opportunity to go to Pensacola Beach. They went to Johnson Beach because it was the coloreds-only beach. And I see Irma here and Ms. Wimmer and all those in the Perdido Chamber. Thank you for your efforts and thank you for your work and recognizing the great contribution of Rosamund Johnson. And back in those days, we couldn't afford to go to the beach, so they went to Johnson Beach. And today, I don't know if it's a tariff or a tax or a cost, but it costs $20+ to get in to go to Johnson Beach. But on this Saturday, it will be free to all to recognize the great contributions of a veteran, American hero, a war hero, and someone who sacrificed his life. And so we certainly appreciate West Marino, Allison, and Ms. Childers for helping making sure that those people will be fed this weekend. Certainly want to recognize, I see some familiar faces there. I see my dear friend Eric Stevenson, the best attorney in the world. I call on him often because I sit in this seat. He still charges me, but it's good to know that he's attending our meeting. And to councilperson Allison Patton, thank you for seeing it. And Steve, I still got that taught me to learn to count to 3, and that's Wilson Robertson. Commissioner Robertson, thank you for being here. I know there's an issue that you probably will address, but it's great to see all of those, into all of our public safety, our paramedics, EMTs. There was a call in my district this past week, and with you guys, I did not make a call, but the response back that I got from my constituents was how concerned and how quickly you responded to their situation. So thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner May. And I just noticed Councilwoman Patton. I'm sorry I didn't notice you. And I also saw Commissioner Robertson in here. Welcome. Good to see you. Sorry I didn't announce that. All right, Commissioner Stroberger, you're up.
Last week, the Home Builders Association celebrated their 75th anniversary. I was there along with Commissioners Hoffberger and May, and it was a good event. Good food. I had a town hall this week, my first, well, it was not really my first one. I think it really counts as my second one. And it was a good turnout, it was a good time for me because they didn't set me on fire and they didn't set the church on fire, which is a good thing because there's not a firehouse nearby, which we're working on. But good results, I think, and I think I got a lot of feedback from that. The Chappie James Flight Academy grand opening, I went to that this week too, and that's always a good event. I love going to that because I get to see Chappie James's grandkids. Frank, maybe Brittany's going to be there next time, or that's a cousin, and then there's, and Jamie. I get to see them. Joe Denman's always there. I love seeing those folks. I hope that the next time I see them, that we're much further down and we've actually started breaking ground and building that outdoor museum. Navy Days begins next week. The 9th, 10th, and 11th. The 9th is the, what is it? The 9th is the gala. That's in the evening, so I'll be going to that, and there'll be others there, lots of others. The 9th, the next day on the weekend, Saturday, is the run walk. That begins at 8 o'clock, and then there's the, I'm sorry, I'm having a stupid attack. Let's see. And then the parade follows that, and then there's more to follow. This is our 2nd annual Navy Days. I hope everyone comes out and checks it out. So when I arrived in Pensacola, I made friends with a gentleman named Frank Burko. At 85, I thought Frank was probably the most entrepreneurial person I'd ever met. And I remember in my MBA classes meeting young entrepreneurs, none of them compared to this guy. This guy had a motor. I found out that he passed away about a month ago. So my thoughts and Gina's thoughts are with Frank's wife, LaVon. my last thing is my favorite thing, and that was the mullet toss last Saturday. I was bragging about my toss to Commissioner Berry earlier. I was out there throwing with Commissioner Kohler. I threw
Mr.
first.
Stroberg, your time's up.
Yeah, was it? I was out there throwing with Commissioner Kohler, and I ended up throwing 24 feet further than him. A mammoth toss. There's a video too. I think I heard someone that compare me to a combination of Willie Mays and Dan Marino. Anyway, I will present the video when necessary. Thank you.
I want to congratulate Commissioner Stroberger, but as a good politician, it wasn't his district, so I had to let him win. But Commissioner May,
I heard the mayor outthrew y'all by many yards.
Nobody was paying attention to him.
yeah, wait, was he there? No. Thanks, Commissioner Stroberger. Commissioner Hopperger.
Good old Floribama. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I know many of you are here to support our first responders and advocate for a consistent MSBU. Your presence shows our shared commitment to ensuring that every person in our community receives life-saving help in an emergency. Supporting the dedicated professionals who provide these critical services is paramount. Moving forward with a consistent MSBU shows that we are one county, one community, and the best way forward is together. This morning at the committee meeting of the whole, we gained support to build 4 new fire stations and add additional living quarters to another station. These stations will ensure that when a resident faces a fire, a crew is ready to respond. Many of these are in areas that people are unable to get insurance or pay 30 to 60% more for their homeowner's insurance. With Florida's high insurance cost, as county commissioners, we must do all that we can to mitigate these expenses to our residents. Yesterday, IHMC hosted myself and some leadership from public safety where we met a world-renowned leader in trauma care. I am proud to share that many life-saving, cutting-edge practices are already in place here in Escambia County, thanks to our EMS team. With new leadership, including our recently hired medical director, we are poised to deliver even better pre-hospital care, leading to improved patient outcomes. I am especially proud of the progress that our EMS department has made in the last 8 months. Finally, with public safety always at the forefront, I've been reassured by our County Administrator West that the $10 million from the general fund that has been subsidizing fire that will be replaced by the MSBU will continue to support our first responders. These funds are slated for better pay and more resources for our local law enforcement, ensuring they have what they need to keep us safe. Thank you for your support, and together we will build a stronger and safer community.
Thank you, Commissioner Hofberger. I got a few things tonight, and I hope I don't get emotional, but I may. But I won't start out like that. First thing I want to do is, one of the great things I get to do every day is come to work with people I enjoy working with. And there's nothing greater to have a job where you get to come to work and you enjoy working with the people. And my team, Dorothy and Cheryl, we have a great time. But Cheryl, I've known for, probably 25 years. And most of these, for a long time. She knew me when I was cleaning bathrooms and scrubbing decks, and then I came back to be her boss, and now she works for me now again. But her birthday was this week, and she doesn't drive at night, but I'm glad to have Cheryl on our team, and happy birthday to her. Next week is Nurses Week. And for anyone, all the nurses that we have on the county, especially the ones in the correctional, that work in the jail with the correctional officers and stuff, they have a tough job. Most people, like anyone in public service, it's hard to get people to work nights and weekends and holidays. And I just want to do a shout out for anyone that knows a nurse or the nurses out there. I've been a nurse for 34 years. I don't do clinical anymore, but I'm still a proud nurse. This week, or in 2 weeks, we got the Sheriff Memorial dedication, which I think all of us are going to be there. We changed the meeting on the 15th to have that later. And that'll be a great day for the Sheriff's Department, our community. All right, I want to talk a little bit about something that happened last week that there are a few people that are upset, but I think we need to get some clarity out there. There was a presidential order and a governor order to change the Gulf to the Gulf of America. I sat down with the county administrator this board had given him the authority to spend up to $50,000. Administrator Marino did what was expected as an executive order and went out and did what I asked him to do. Commissioner Hoffberger, shortly before, I guess you were in charge of the design, or picked out the design, I think, right?
Yes, he brought 3 options, and we selected one of those 3. Thank you for that.
But I wanted to read this because this was from Congressman Petronas. He sent this to me, and he asked me if I'd say something. I said I would. He said, big shout out for the update for the iconic welcome sign to read Gulf of America. This change is in line with the POTUS executive order honoring the spirit of our great nation, excited that the Emerald Coast is helping Florida lead the way. I know his staff is watching this meeting right now. Thank you, Congressman Petronas, for your leadership, and thank you for the text. Senator Scott actually also texted me, as well as the chief of staff for the governor, and this also went to the White House. So it was a small change, but with a big impact for our community. And Allison, I want to thank you for looking at all the ordinances that we have. You'd be amazed at how many have the word Gulf of Mexico in it that legals looked at to change to be in line with the governor's order. So I thank you for that. I have another very exciting thing for our community that this week came up, and it was also from Congressman Petronas' office. They called and said, Mike, can you get a small business to be recognized up in Congress from our community? So I said, yeah, no, I sure can. So I called Frank Patty, and they said, yeah, we'd be more than happy. So our area will be represented on May 20th in Congress as one of the best small businesses in the United States of America. So shout out for the Marina Shipyard, as well as the Marina Fish House, Joe Patty's Fish House and Shipyard. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about I had the honor of being the XO over the Robert E. Mitchell Center, which for many people here may not even know what that is. But it's where POWs come that have been POWs. And that was a big deal for me, but I never knew the impact running for this office would have. And I'll tell you why. I've had the privilege of meeting several POWs over my career. Colonel Hubbard, I brought here years ago. I still have a friendship with him. Many people here would know Ralph Gaither. Senator McCain, I met 3 times. Captain Coffey, many wouldn't know, but he came here. He lived in Hawaii. 3 of them are passed away. Well, actually, 4 of them are. But when I ran for office, I knocked on the door. Little did I know that was going to change my life. I knocked on a door over here in Aragon. Steve was there. And did the normal spill, Mike Kohler running for office. His granddaughter opened the door, and I said, I'm a Navy guy. And she said, oh, we're not interested. And I hear from the back, let that man in. So I said, there's something going on. I walked in. As I walk in the door, I see the POW stuff. He had an American flag out front. And I walked in and said, Mr. Brady, are you a POW? He said, I am. I said, I think we have a friend together. He says, who's that? I said, Dr. Albano. He's over all the POWs. Meanwhile, my wife's walking around wondering where I am for the next 30 minutes as we're talking Navy stories. And at the end of that, he gave me this book. It's a book he wrote. It's a wonderful story. And I left there. That's not the end of the story. Steve Strober and I were making phone calls in my house one day, and I called this lady in Egypt named Don Quarles. Steve was stationed in Egypt. You remember this, Steve?
I do.
I know he does because he interjected himself into the call. But we were calling people on absentee ballots, asking them basically if they'd vote for Mike Kohler. Well, Ms. Quarles goes, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. I'm going to vote for you." I said, "How do you know who I am?" She goes, "Well, you went and visited my dad, Captain Brady." And I said, "You got to be kidding me." I said, "He just gave me a book." She goes, "Yeah, I'm in the back of it." Open up the back of the book. Here's Don Quarles. I'm on the phone talking to her. But that didn't where it ended. After that, my neighbor, former commissioner, Bill Dixon, his daughter works over at the legislature in Tallahassee. And Representative Salzman and a guy named Commander Jacobson, I know you folks may not know, I know you know Representative Salzman, but not Jacobson, had wrote a proclamation for Captain Brady. Well, Bill Dixon happened to be reading the book, and he's my neighbor, and I said, "You're reading this book?" And he said, "Yeah." And this is where this story starts to get close to my heart. So I said, "Bill, I know this guy." And he said, "Can you introduce me to him?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do that." So I went by, and I asked him, Commissioner Dixon, and Bill's the oldest living CO of NAS Pensacola, by the way. And we took him there. And I called Representative Salzman, and she had never met Captain Brady, or I don't even think she met Captain Dixon at that point. But we spent 2 hours in their house with those two looking at their flight logs. They both were A6 pilots. They both were on the USS Kitty Hawk. The day before Captain Brady was shot down, Bill Dixon was on that ship and had a flight with his A6 off the ship. Obviously, Bill Dixon was emotional because he wasn't a POW for 2,237 days. So that was pretty moving. But the next 2 years, I became close to the family. I took him to Blue Angel Museum, or what am I saying, the Blue Angel Air Show for 2 years. And then last year, at the POW MAI luncheon, it was amazing. Ed Hubbard was the speaker, and he was a POW for over 2,400 days. And in that time, they'd never seen each other as POWs. The first time them was at that luncheon. And yeah, the humility between both of them was just moving. So Captain Brady passed away last Thursday, and I'm real close with his wife, and I'm helping her with stuff that the military stuff that you would need to do. But for his service, if you think you have a bad day, and I served a long time, but I never had 2,237 bad days. And I just want to thank him for his service. And I'm sorry I got emotional, but I just really care about that man and his service to this country. So that's all I have, and I hope that story means something to you, because it means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. He left a detail out on that. When he made that phone call to Captain Brady's daughter, not knowing it was his daughter, he was calling her in Cairo, Egypt. Not knowing it was Cairo, Egypt, I don't think, right? And did you? Yeah, I happened to, she was teaching at Cairo American College, and I used to live in Egypt, and my kids went to Cairo American College, so that's how I inserted myself in the conversation. But I thought that was remarkable, that we were talking to her from Cairo, you know, talking about Captain Brady and the connection he'd made.
The amount of POWs we have in this area for this community, and what Commissioner May was saying about Rosamond Johnson, the sacrifices that I didn't have to make those kind of sacrifices, but some of the folks that we serve among here or live among have made some amazing sacrifices, I'll just say that, and I'm grateful for it. All right, let's push on. a motion to adopt or ratify the proclamations?
I make a motion.
Second.
I'll second it with an amendment that you went over 3 minutes, a lot longer than Stroberger. But
I have a mullet to throw at you.
It was a touching story.
I'm sure I'll hit you.
Good job,
Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Now, I got something really, really special. I can go to something that's going to make us all happy. Can Mr. and Mrs. Pastua, is that right? Say that again? Pastusha, please come up to the mic. Now, this is just a beautiful story. Sorry, man. Man, you two look good for your age. So, this is an interesting night, and this is going to be a beautiful evening. So, we're here to recognize these two 75th wedding anniversary. And so we're going to I mean, it's just, what a beautiful night. And Jeff reached out to me and asked if we would do this for his parents. And I'll read the proclamation, let him talk to you. But I had a chance to talk to you. And can I share your story? Okay, so he said he was in the Navy. And he went to, you were at Softly Filled, correct? Yeah. And his wife, I guess, was a big dancer at the USO. He wasn't so much. And she asked him to dance, and that was the beginning of it, right? So we're going to give you two a chance to dance after read the proclamation. I think Wes is going to sing an Elvis song, and it'll be a beautiful evening. But I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation for y'all. Whereas Joe and Katie Pasteur were wed on April 26, 1950, and 2025 marks 75 wonderful years of marriage full of love, devotion, and dedication for one another and their family. Whereas Mr. and Mrs. Pasteur welcomed 7 children to their home and raised them with strong sense of faith, service to the community, and importance of family. Whereas the Pastusha family is now grown to, 63 grandchildren and great-grandchildren, including 3 great-great-grandchildren that will proudly carry on Joe and Katie's name and values. Congratulations. Whereas Katie, with 95 years of age, you don't look over 50, ma'am, and Joe, with 98, who served as a petty officer second class, way to go, in the United States Navy, have called Escambia County home for many years, are an invaluable residents of our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, commends and congratulates Joe and Katie Pastua on their 75th wedding anniversary and wishes them many more shared years watching their family grow and continue their legacy. Board of County Commissioners, Escambia County, Florida, Michael S. Kohler, Chair, District 2, Ashley Hopberger, Vice Chair, District 4, Steve Stroberger, District 1, Lumen May, District 3, Stephen Barry, District 5. Come on up, Joe. I want to hear what you have to say. And you too. God bless you both. We're going to get a photo. Come on up, Andy. And would you like to say anything?
I'm grateful for all and that I obviously don't know their names, and that anyone and everyone that had any part of this is tremendously touchy. I'm grateful and appreciative. That's about all I could say right now without breaking down.
Hey, what was your rate in the Navy? Because that was what was your rate?
I was a yeoman second class.
I could, yeah. You probably could have wrote this. You know. All right. I want you to say something. How'd you put up with him? Oh, no. Oh, you do? Okay. You don't want to say anything? She doesn't? Okay. All right, let's take a photo. Kate, you want to turn around? Want to take a photo? Yeah. Get your family in. Yeah. Come on, Jim.
Right here, Mom.
No, we want you guys to be recognized as a family. Right. Come
Jim is our oldest boy.
Do you guys
I got one daughter older.
You sure, Jeff? It's up to you. No. Okay. Okay, well, we'll go this way.
Yeah, y'all just sit right where you are.
Thank you.
What a wonderful story.
Thank you so much.
Actually, hold on. I want to give you that from me.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You want to take that, Jeff? Yeah. Thank you so much. Be careful. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Go this way, Mom.
You good?
There you go.
Commissioner May, I'm sorry. 1 second. Commissioner May, you're going to be reading the Rosamond Johnson, no, which one?
No, first, a constituent of District 3, civil
Oh,
major.
as I was, sorry. Oh, wow, 100 years for Miss Sybil Keynes Major. Come on up. Huh? Sybil? Okay.
Civil.
All right.
That's how we say it in District 3, civil.
All right, well, come on up, Mrs. Majors. 100 years. Man, this is a great meeting.
This is my second I'm nominated in the last couple of months, so be sure y'all hear in a few years when I have mine, okay?
Don't you have like 20 there, sir?
Commissioner,
Love these 100-year-old ladies.
Yeah, I
well, they kept you elected. Commissioner, thank you for recommending a constituent of District 3 to be recognized for 100 years. That's a long time. And so when I saw 1925, my father was born in 1927. And so to be here since 1925, you've seen a lot of things. You've seen a lot of changes. Thank you. And Godspeed to you. Whereas Sybil L. Kane Majors is a woman whose life reflects grace, strength, unwavering love for family and community. She was born on April 2nd, 1925, in a humble home near Century, Florida. She entered the world the same day the Pensacola Singer Theater was opened, where she married the love of her life, James F. Majors, on June 18, 1941. Together they built a life filled with devotion, raising 2 sons, Fred and Tom. Her family continues to grow, now including 5 grandchildren and 6 great-grandchildren. Whereas her work ethic shone from the very beginning, she started at Chemstrand in 1954 and retired from Monsanto in 1981, completing 26 and a half years of loyal and dedicated service. Her quiet strength and steady commitment left a lasting impression on all who worked alongside her. Whereas her love for the outdoors brought her and James to co-found Mystic Springs Airstream Cove Park, a place of fellowship, laughter, and adventure. Whereas Sybil and James share a deep sense of service for more than 55 years, they faithfully supported the Florida Sheriff's Association, standing along those who protected and served their community. Whereas in the winter, Sybil finds peace in Okeechobee. She spends her days fishing, watching the birds, and just sitting on the back porch. Whereas Sybil's legacy lives on in the love she gives, the lives she touched, and the example she sets. Her kindness, her faith, her joy, her spirit continue to inspire everyone. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County urges all of our residents to celebrate the long and successful life and legacy of Sybil L. Kane Major as she reaches the milestone of 100 years. Board of County Commissioners, Michael Kohler, Chairman, Ashley Holmberger, Vice Chair, Steve Stroberger, District 1, Lumen May, District 3, Stephen Berry, District 5. Sybil, congratulations and God bless you.
This is her family, by the way.
Welcome, family.
I've been a fellow church member of hers for 50 years.
Thank you, Lumen.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your birthday, ma'am. All right, Todd Humble, is Todd out there? Oh, it's him. Oh, okay, there he is. Todd's recognizing the Employee of the Month.
Chris and everybody else in the library, friends, family. So we got a board member here. Let's have everybody from the library come up. John, come on up. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Chris Patterson. He came to work with the library system 17 years ago. And 19. 19.
It's been 19 years.
19. Somebody told me wrong. Sorry.
Well, sorry. I'm glad I'm here to clarify.
You started the
How,
computer.
how many days, sir?
I started in the computer lab 2006.
Okay. So then when they merged with the county, he went from the computer lab to being what we now call a customer service technician. Sorry. Customer service technician, which is our frontline people. So he's working with patrons day in, day out. If you ever get a book on hold, he's the voice you hear. Most of the time he's making those calls, letting you know you got in what you asked for. So, any other years I don't know about?
No.
How many years you been in Pensacola?
52.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas Escambia County has established the Employee of the Month program to recognize one employee and represent various departments, and whereas Chris began his employment with the library system 19 years ago as a part-time employee in the computer lab and was promoted to a full-time position when the library transitioned under Escambia County. Whereas Chris J. Patterson, library service technician, library services, joined the county on October 7th, 2013, has been selected the Employee of the Month for May 2025 for the standards of excellence he displays in the performance of his duties. Whereas in his role as a library service technician, Chris works with the circulation department, providing exceptional service to library patrons to find and use library resources. Whereas both staff and library patrons consistently speak of his genuine warmth and knowledgeable work ethic in adding positive value to our library atmosphere. Whereas in a recent example several months ago, an elderly gentleman spoke highly to the assistant branch manager for the gratitude of West Fort Public Libraries had done to help serve as a touchstone in his life. The gentleman specifically cited Chris as someone of customer service consistency that went above and beyond. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed the Board of County Commissioners, Escambia County, Florida, hereby commends and congratulates Mr. Chris J. Patterson in his selection as Employee of the Month for May 2025. Board of County Commissioners, Escambia County, Florida, Michael S. Kohler, Chair, District 2, Ashley Hoffberger, Vice Chair, District 4, Steve Strohberger, District 1, Lumen J. May, District 3, and Stephen Berry, District 5.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson, you have anything you'd like to share?
Yes, I would just like to thank the county employees, my co-workers at the library, and I can't top what just happened earlier. That was very touching and moving. I was back there stating that how could anyone top what just happened between the 75 years of being married and 100 years of living. But all I can do is strive. All I can do is strive for those things and keep on giving the library all that I have.
Well, thank you for your service to the county.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Thank y'all so much. Oh, my yeah, hold it. Yeah, thank you.
He was probably dreading if I was going to go, hear ye, when I did the announcement at the library.
I just want to.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, actually. Thank you. Commissioner May, would you like to read the Rosamond Beach proclamation? Thank you. Oh, I didn't know the family was here. Okay, good.
Tammy just told me, Mr. Chairman, that she'll tell me the story about the mullet toss, and so, but it's hard to toss
Tammy,
fried mullet.
Be,
so
be careful, you live in my district. We took care of your road, you know.
There you go. I mean, I love mullet. I don't like to toss them. I like to eat them. Mr. Chairman, it's an honor to be able to present this proclamation. We've talked enough about Rosamond Johnson, who is an American war hero, and we're going to present this proclamation tonight as well as on Saturday. Whereas the life of Private Rosamond Johnson, Jr., an African-American hero and the first resident of Escambia County, Florida, to die in the Korean War, is commemorated every May to remember his service and his sacrifice. Whereas this marks the 15th year anniversary of this meaningful event honoring Private Johnson's legacy in the site known as Rosamond Johnson Beach, which holds an immense cultural and historical value. Whereas at the young age of 17, Private Johnson carried 2 wounded men to safety under enemy fire while returning for the 3rd soldier in need and was killed on July 26, 1950. Whereas while Pensacola beaches were racially segregated when Private Johnson joined the Army, the eastern end of Perdido Key became a popular destination for African-American residents to enjoy the natural beauty of the beach and engage in recreational activities the Gulf has to offer. Whereas after the Korean conflict, the county-owned recreation area was renamed the Rosamond Johnson Beach in honor of the fallen hero and a part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore in 1973. A monument in Wayside about Private Johnson was erected in 1996. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Escambia County, Florida, hereby proclaims Saturday, May 3rd, 2025, as the Rosamond Johnson Beach Day in Escambia County, Florida, in honor and memory of Private Rosamond Johnson, Jr., who made the ultimate sacrifice of losing his life for the freedom of all. Board of County Commissioners, Michael Kohler, Chair, Ashley Hallberger, Vice Chair, Steve Stroberger, District 1, Lumen J. May, District 3, Stephen Berry, District 5. Thank you both in the chamber for all you do.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's
We'll see you Saturday.
On behalf of the Perdido Key Area Chamber of Commerce, we are proud to honor Rosamond Johnson. This is always a special day for us every year, and we invite everyone to come out. It is free entrance to Johnson Beach until noon, and the ceremony starts at 10, so we hope that everyone will join us.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much. All right. Did the clerk's office receive proof of publication for the public hearings on the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, the clerk's office received all proofs.
Okay. Do I have a motion to?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. We're at public hearing 5.31, which is the request for exemption for the Escambia Children's Trust. We have several speakers. Would we like to listen to speakers first, I think? It's 5.31.
Is this the 531, Mr. Chairman?
That's correct. So our first speaker is Meredith Bush. Would Meredith like to come up?
Carrie
And-
Stevenson, I promise you were going to get out early, but I don't think it's going to happen. Just go
well,
back to the
and
extension center.
Kristen Fairchild's on deck.
Thank you so much. Meredith Bush, 125 East Intendencia, attorney with Clark Partington. I believe you all understand our position, so I'm here, happy to take any questions. Lindsay Cannon, the executive director, is also present, happy to take any questions. We would just ask that you grant the exemption and enter into an interlocal agreement with the trust.
Thank you, Meredith. Kristen Fairchild is, and then Taiwan Moss is the way it's written here. Are you Mrs. Fairchild?
I am.
Thank you, ma'am. Please, and welcome.
And do I state my name, address, and all that?
You had to
You have
sign
it all?
in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Hi, I'm Kristen Fairchild. I'm the founder and executive director of Chain Reaction. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Today I'm talking about the ECT money and the impact of giving that to CRAs and getting an interagency agreement with the trust. I've sat in this chamber for 21 years when we would do outside agency funding, and I would fight for our $20,000, and commissioners like yourself would always say,
should we use taxpayer dollars for it? Next would be, how in the world do we make sure that they're spending the money the right way? So what do? And I'll get emotional because I'm passionate. We went and campaigned for the trust. We passed it. Taxpayer dollars said, let's use this money to fill gaps in services. And now we might get $450,000 taken away. I know that it has been proposed to possibly use the money for sidewalks or cameras for the sheriff's department, and I apologize if that has changed. My teens in my program that you'll hear from later are some of those kids that will end up on that camera. So I would ask you to think about your constituents, and would they rather have their child caught on camera, or would they like a program that can make sure they never get on camera? I know that the sheriff's budget is $96,000. The county commission's budget is $396,000. This is $450,000. My entire operating budget is $250,000. I serve 240 kids. To put a number to what that means, $450,000. And I speak for Chain Reaction as an example, but Big Brothers Big Sisters, Gulf Coast Kids House, all the partners in our community that I partner with to impact kids, that would be 700 kids. 700 faces that can make a difference. I beg you to please think of an interagency agreement that gives us the opportunity to compete for those dollars. The hardest thing in nonprofit is fundraising. Today, I met with a young man who is at PHS and a senior. He currently has 2 Fs. We are working with him to pass because they're required for graduation. We went over, called recruiters because he is thinking of the Air Force or the Navy. He is also thinking about going to PSC. We are working with him to do that every single day, but I had a choice. Take an hour and a half to work with him, which I have dedicated to do for the next 4 weeks, or send out 5 invoices for pledges. We're $12,000 short in budget. Of course I picked the kid. So what happens? If we don't meet budget, I will, like I've done in the past, take a pay cut or eliminate a position. I know it seems like $450,000, and I am passionate because I've served alongside you for 21 years, fighting for these kids in this community. I drive them home, I see what their life is like, and it matters. Children's trust is tough. They will make a difference, and please consider it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Fairchild, and thank you for what you do. I don't think we appreciate what you do. Our next speaker was Taiwan Moss. Is that, do I have that right? Okay. Raymond Evil's on deck.
Good morning. Well,
Hi.
Good afternoon, I'm sorry. My name is Taiwan Moss. I attend PHS in the Chain Reaction Program.
Do you mind pulling this speaker up just so we can hear? Thank you, Taiwan.
In the Chain Reaction Program. I started a year ago, yeah. It feels like a long time. We do a lot. We hang out, we talk to each other. But when I first started Chain Reaction, I had a 1.0 GPA. I was leaving West Florida because I was struggling in math. Once I started struggling in math, I gave up on everything. I was just like, you know what? It's just not for me. I didn't really have a plan. I didn't know what I wanted to do. My only plan was just like get out of school and then just live life, get a job and live off that job for the rest of my life. But I met Kristen and she was telling me, hey, you can do way more. You can do things that actually you like. I was just like, I don't know what I like to do. I started finding my catch-ups. That's what we call it. We call it catch-ups because it's something that we use every day, something that's natural to us. And I figured out that I like giving back to my community. I like helping out children. I know that when I was in elementary school, I wasn't good at reading, I wasn't good at writing, and I still struggle with that today, but that's things that we go over, we talk about, we help each other, we work with each other to fix. These aren't things like just here to there situations. These are things that we use like throughout our lives. I put on my resume every time I go to apply for a job, Chain Reaction. And as soon as they see Chain Reaction, they ask me, what do you do in Chain Reaction? I tell them what we do. I tell them how we help out our community. We go out and help out our community, and I always get the job. So that's something I'll be using for a while. But this isn't just a small thing. I feel like a lot of people would think it's a small thing because you haven't really been there to see how it is. But once you actually see how big it is, how much they help us, how much like we actually go through on a daily basis, how hard school can get and how overwhelming it gets, and how we go home and we feel like, hey, we're not going to be able to do this. And Kristen will call you and say, hey, I just looked at your grades. I see that you're struggling in this situation or this area. What can I do to help? She would come to the school, even if she's busy with her regular life, and she'll come to the school and she'll actually talk to us and help us with our work. She'll sit down. She'll have a big group of people who are struggling in school, and she'll help us with any topic, math, reading. And if she doesn't know it, I'm pretty sure she'll go to Ms. Gordon and say, hey, Ms. Gordon, can I borrow one of your teachers to help my students with this topic? But yeah, thank y'all.
Thank you for your comments and coming up and having the courage to speak. Thank you. Raymond Evil? And Lucy Adams Stevens on deck.
My name is Raymond Evil, and I'm in the 10th grade. I go to PHS High School, Pensacola. I play for the basketball team. Yeah, I'm with Chain Reaction Group. Chain Reaction has helped me out so much with my work, my grades, self-confidence, and motivation. Yeah, I really appreciate them. They always on my back about my grades, being good in school, no disrespect. And I thank them a lot for that. And I'm now starting to do better in school for it. And Kristen right here, she helps me so much. She always makes sure I'm okay and that I'm doing right in school, so I will not do bad at all and out of school. Yeah.
And you're just a sophomore.
Yeah, I'm just a sophomore.
You're going to be my big leader.
Yes, ma'am.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming up and speaking, Raymond. All right, is Lucy out there? Lucy, okay, come on up, Lucy. Jacob Kirkland is on deck. Jacoby Kirkland, as I was.
Hi, I'm Lucy Adams Stevenson. I'm a senior in the IB program at Pensacola High School. For the past 7 years, my family has been involved at PHS between me and my brother, who went there before me, and we've seen a lot of changes, but I think that the most meaningful change at PHS has been the addition of Chain Reaction. Last year, we had 18 students at Chain Reaction at PHS, but this year we have 70. And we expect that this will happen at Escambia High School as well. We work with many students, a lot who may struggle with soft skills that will help them after graduation, a lot who are not even sure if they're going to graduate. They may not have large support systems or know that someone cares about them enough to change their future, but Kristen does this. Our program at PHS changes this. I've heard everyone on the JV basketball team who comes to Chain Reaction before practice asking Kristen when she's coming to their next game, asking about the snacks that we're having at our next meeting. Lots of my friends in Chain Reaction were struggling with their grades before, but Chain Reaction helps them stay focused and work on projects, and their grades improve and their GPAs go above what they could even imagine. Not only does CR help with our grades and improving our soft skills, but it helps us to meet new people. There's kind of a gap between IB and non-IB at PHS, and to me, Chain Reaction has bridged the gap. I've met so many people, including Taiwan and everyone else, who have become really good friends of mine, and I would not know them if it weren't for Chain Reaction. We help the community through all of our service, but we also make a community for ourselves, and I would not be the same person I am without Chain Reaction. It means a lot to me, but I know it will mean even more to the future students at Pensacola High School. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jacoby Kirkland. Did I have that right? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner May.
Lucy, congratulations on going to Swanee.
Come on up. Are you Jacoby? Okay. Haley Bingham is on deck. Come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacoby Kirkland. I'm in 10th grade at Pensacola High School. I play for the basketball team, and CR has helped me with a lot with my grades. And before, I had some D's in some classes, and I had extra time after school to work on them. I like CR because it helps children and funds, and we donate toys and projects and stuff like that to children who need, and it also like helps other people, motivate them to want to do something better. It helps me find something to do after school, because sometimes I be at home and I don't want to be at home bored. So it helps me it helped me make new friends and help me understand why children actually need help and what we need to do to help them out. I enjoy Chain Reaction. Chain Reaction is something like a hobby, like something I like doing when I'm not home or on a game or something like that. Chain Reaction helped me. It put me through a lot, sometimes I can't always make Chain Reaction time, but I always be there the most I can to help them out. Chain Reaction is it's fun for a lot of people, and I enjoy being there. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and speaking.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner May?
I promise you that, this will be the last comment, but I kind of get emotional with kids that I've watched, like Kobe, that I've seen his development on and off the court. And Kobe, I'll tell you, Coach Harris told me on his retirement, the hardest decision of retiring and turning it over to Coach Williams was you, Kobe, because you were there. You're on the court and off the court leadership. It's commendable, man. So keep doing what you do, man. God got a lot of great things for you, Kobe. Keep working hard.
Congratulations. Haley Bingham? Okay, and Gabriel Austin is up next.
Good evening. My name is Haley Bingham, and I attend Escambia High School. I'm a part of the class of 2025, and I will be graduating in less than a month. This January, Chain Reactions started a location at Escambia High School. So unlike our other locations at PHS and the center, we started as a very small group of 5 to 6 a week, but as word of mouth and as we started growing our club, we grew up to 12 people a week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but as a very new thing at our school, and it's very hard to get stuff around the school, it is definitely a good amount of people. Chain Reaction allows the team to lead. We get to choose how we serve our community every day, whether that be doing other art projects or helping out other people. We get to choose how we decide to help out our community. We also are able to develop our soft skills. Our soft skills and mindset at Chain Reactions. These skills have allowed me to retain focus during school lessons and keep me motivated during homework, ultimately leading to me getting better grades during class. Not only has Chain Reactions improved my school ethic, it has also improved my mindset on life, allowing me to care for my community, my classmates, and as well myself. Chain Reactions has allowed a safe space for me to be open, learn, and serve. Even though I've only been a part of Chain Reactions for a mere 5 months, it has grown to be one of my favorite activities. As I leave my high school career, I hope the underclassmen I leave behind are able to find safe and enjoying help here at Chain Reactions, just like I did, as we grow it at Escambia High School. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Gabriel Austin, is Gabriel? Okay, come on up, Gabriel. And then Peyton Sims is on deck.
I'm Gabrielle Ostin. I'm a junior at Escambia High. At Chain Reaction, well, actually, let me start before. Sorry, I don't public speak, but before, I never thought I could make a Chain Reaction.
It's okay. I already cried first, so you don't have to be embarrassed.
Oh, this is so hard.
So how does it help you?
Well, I can boost my self-confidence way easier. Like right now, I would have been crying in the seat, not even up here.
Hang in there. You're doing great.
You're doing great, kiddo. Public speaking is very hard, and you're advocating for yourself. You're doing great.
I would have never thought I could make a change. I thought, what am I going to do? Like an hour after school or 5 minutes after school? I just go to school, go home, sleep in my bed, do my homework. But when they came to my school to talk about this program and getting it to the school, I was like, well, maybe I can make a change. And then Christian, she was so excited about it and so passionate about it. I was like, oh, I should actually do something. I don't have to just sit at my home and draw. I could just actually make a change. And I have made a change. Every single day I go on Mondays after school, the ones that I can because I am busy with school. But I go there and I don't just make crafts. I talk to my friends that I make, like Haley and Peyton. I would have never known them. I would have never talked to them until Chain Reaction. And even if I'm just like, oh, hey, can I borrow that? It's still building a relationship with my community. And even not just in school, but I build a community outside of school. Even if I'm not talking to the kids I make crafts for, it's so amazing knowing that I can make the change. And oh my gosh, sorry.
You did great.
I really am passionate about this project because it's so interesting. I don't just sit at home. I can actually do something for a change. And
Cool people cry.
Yes.
Yes, cool people cry.
But it's just not even just helping my self-confidence even. It's helping my grades in school. As a junior, it's kind of hard to just keep pushing on. This last year moved by so fast, it felt like the first day yesterday. But now I'm graduating junior year in 3 weeks. And it's just so hard to keep doing my work. I go to math class, I go to English class, I read a book. It's so boring sometimes. And just with this, going to every Monday and talking about, oh, I hate this teacher so much. She gave me this bad grade. It's good to open up about it. It really is. Because I don't just have my frustration with a teacher. I can go to my friend about it, oh yeah, I don't like this teacher, but it's okay, just do the work, it's fine, I'll help you. And I get help, I get, a mentor almost, in Haley especially, because I talk to her more. But it's so amazing knowing that I have a support group after school, even if it is just an hour or so on Mondays. But thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Peyton Sims, you're up. How are you, Peyton?
Hi. My name is Peyton Sims, and I'm a senior at Escambia High School and attend CR at the Escambia location and at the center. CR has helped me grow tremendously as a student and as a person. It has brought me and many other students together that before CR I never even knew I went to school with. I started off as a very shy person who refused to speak if I did not have to. And now, thanks to CR and the confidence my peers have given me, I can speak confidently in front of big groups. Chain Reaction has helped me build a resume that has now gotten me a job, into college, and scholarships for college. I'm a student who has a great pride for my school, and seeing all of the students express themselves and bring more and more friends each week and volunteer their time to help our community is something truly special to me. I have realized from listening to this meeting that everyone's common goal is to do what's best for the community. Chain Reaction gives students like me a voice. It gives students who are struggling with their grades the help they need. It helps them build resumes for kids who may not have those resources that they may have at other schools. And it just gives us the same chances as the rest of students at other schools, while getting service hours by making reading packets for students who need the extra push for that motivation. We are the future generation of our community, and Chain Reactions are students who do this not because we have to, but because we want to. We want to help and better our future and the futures of others while being ourselves. This doesn't make sense. Let me do it myself. Okay. So pretty much, we are helping the younger generations of students. We build reading packets for them, for the students who may not want to read, they may not want to have, they don't have the same, their teachers may not push them like they should. They may feel down about themselves, so we make them feel better about themselves. And we are also feeling better about ourselves. I want to be a teacher one day. I'm going to college to help younger students, and I just hope that Chain Reaction is still a thing when I'm a teacher, because it's so amazing to see it. And yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Peyton. And Kristen, I think it says a lot about you bringing these students out to share their stories and how your programs helped them. And I It's not that what our further future discussion has nothing to do with what you're doing. You're doing a great job, it's obvious. And each one of you students should be happy with what you're doing in that school. And I'm proud that you came down and shared your comments with us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf, just having them here to see it. Thank you for letting them do that.
Yeah. Oh,
A big deal for them. So
I know it is. Yeah, I'm a teacher. I have a master's in education and a nurse, so I get it. Board, I guess this is, do we have any discussion? Allison, yeah.
I just want to make sure we don't get too far off the rails. So you have two choices. The Children's Trust has requested a waiver as allowed under the state statute. It is only a request for the most recent tax cycle. So this will not affect next year's. This is just for the 1 year. You have two choices. You can either grant their request for the waiver. If you do that, your motion needs to include direction that the staff negotiate with the Children's Trust an interlocal agreement as to how those funds are going to be spent. There is, in your backup, a proposed interlocal that came from them having to do with funding the Summer Youth Employment Program.
Well, I'd like to, before we get there, can we have some discussion?
Yep, and then the only other thing I was to say is if you're going to deny the waiver, there are factual findings by your staff in the backup. Those are statutorily driven. You need to adopt those as part of your motion.
I understand. We've been
Mr.
here
Chairman?
before. Yes, Commissioner May.
Before we engage in debate here on the dais, I need to disclose in which council has told me that there is not a conflict of interest, but obviously I'm a children's advocate, and I serve on the Children's Trust Board of Directors, and so I just want to fully disclose that before we enter into any debate.
Okay, I'll open up the discussion because I think it's important. No one's against student programs here. We're 100% in support. And Lindsay, under your leadership, I think you've listened to me on some things that the board requested last year with the Naval Flight Academy. But I do want, it's important that I highlight a few things. I had a meeting with Lindsay and one of your board members, I think it's her. I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't remember your name, but I remember you in my office and your beautiful smile. And with our attorney, Kristen, and our legal advice was that the county has the authorization under statute to put some of these funds into the CRA, and obviously you, Meredith, you did that last year, so I think you may agree with that. The board has not went after, even though we requested it, the 22 and 23 funds, which I believe is around $700,000, correct?
2021 and 2022 have not been paid. They played in full for 2023.
Right, okay. So a couple things I'd like to highlight is, and I believe this is from your website, Lindsay, your budget is $25,580,000 according to your website as of March 31st, 2025. The $495,000 would be 1.96% of the budget. The reason I'm passionate about this is because I love the programs, but there's things, and I know you and I've had a difference on this, that you can't do. You can't do infrastructure. We can. And when I brought up the basketball court or the basketball program on Navy, that I'm going downtown, we could have funded that. We're going to vote later today for $25 million in turfs, and I don't know where that's going to go. You know how many multi-use fields I have in Bayou, Davenport, Warrington, Edgewater? I don't have one. The poorest communities in our district, Commissioner May and I have, we could put lights and safety in some of those small things that as a nurse I look at holistically that can change a kid's life for safety. Safety is the second ring in a person's life that before they can get even to self-actualization. And I appreciate what the programs do, but I honestly think you guys could help the CRAs in some of our poorest communities with some of the stuff that we could do. And I'm just passionate about it because it's not that I'm against programs, but I just think if you looked at Warrington Prep, and I know you recently put a program out there, and the only failing school in the district, They've had to call the sheriff's department out there 66 times. They've had 300 assaults. I mean, they don't have a lighted field. When President Clinton said, hey, basketball helps with lighted basketball, it actually does. We can pay for lights. But we can't get there now because we don't have any of that. But we do have the sheriff's department going 66 times a year to Warrington Prep. So for me, it's not that I'm against programs, but I honestly think that we could do a lot more with what Neighborhood Services said. And I know people say, well, it's only lights. When you are scared in your community, or elderly people, or kids don't think they can get there, or kids don't even go to school. My wife taught there for 5 years because they can't get there. It doesn't matter how many programs you have. It doesn't matter. The program doesn't matter. It's like me, if you have a heart attack, I can treat cholesterol management every day. But if you come in and I never gave you cholesterol management, you're still dead. And that's the same with the kid that doesn't feel safe and secure. And that's where the CRAs can help. So I wish we had a more holistic partnership to look at things that we could do outside of programs that could help. But this is such a small amount that goes to the lowest income kids in the county. I just can't believe for $495,000, we haven't even asked for the other 2 years, out of a $25,580,000. Well, this is what's on your website.
That's not annual though, that's cumulative.
So that's what you have on the books now?
Well, they're encumbered in contracts.
Right. But
That's from the beginning.
so what's your annual budget? This is what I pulled off your website.
Sorry, annual budget's around 10 million.
Okay, so we're still under 5%.
But those are all encumbered in contracts, that we have 42 contracts now.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Well, I'm in favor of this only because I believe that we should have, and not that I'm against programs. I love programs, but if you want to look at the situation holistically, Neighborhood Services could do some things on infrastructure that could help these poor communities. And last year, this board voted 5-0. The sheriff supports this clause. I hope we do the same thing. I'd be willing to give you guys, if the board is to waive off the 21 and 22, if we could move forward with this, but I'm in favor of denying the waiver and moving forward. Commissioner May, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so, and certainly we'll be supportive where, the majority of this board wants to go. If I ever err, I'll err on the side of helping children. But I will say clearly, the tax was for children. And let's, start the conversation because I support Chain Reaction, have supported them personally, have supported them throughout the years. Not one child will be affected by whatever decision we make, whether we grant it or whether we don't grant it. It's not going to reduce or increase the services of Chain Reaction of any of the agencies that have been encumbered, as Lindsay just said, of the $25 million of the 3-year contract that they have. This started with the conversation with the sheriff because children were getting shot and getting killed by guns at a park in Montclair, and the sheriff requested a shot spotter and cameras to make sure that children were safe, and went to the Children's Trust to ask for the money, and it ended up kind of in a political dilemma that caused the sheriff to take other options, and we funded that out of our CRA. Candidly, we funded that because children have to be able to go to parks. They have to have cameras. I don't care what kind of program you have. If children are not safe walking out of their house, then they're not going to go to any program. It can be the best program in the world. So I understand the infrastructure, but I do understand the different funding mechanisms. And so me and you may not be completely on the same page, Mr. Chairman, as it relates to that. We are on the same page as it relates to that, but exactly on how we're going to end up tonight. But I do believe that it's a Children's Trust that should go to children, but I believe that we do a great job here at Escambia County of helping children. We had 1,300 children apply for a job. That's the greatest impact you can do. You can come in and tell me all day about the kids in Chain Reaction, tell me about Cordero, tell me about all these kids, but when they still don't have money to buy their school clothes, when they still don't have money to eat, all the great programs, and the only people get paid are the people that's staffing it, and the poor children that you think that you're feeding them a cheeseburger and a hot dog go back home hungry and can't buy underwear, then it doesn't help. And so I've been supportive. I've told Lindsay, you know, if we can take this money, and I think, quite frankly, I'm on the board, and I think it should be funded. Out of all of it, we have 1,300 young people between the ages of 16 to 21, 24 years old. 1,300 children who need a job in Escambia County, who have applied, who want a job. We should not only be using this money that we have CRA, the Children's Trust should be funding more money, because a person that wants to work, we should be funding them. We were funding a lot of salaries and a lot of other programs, and so where I'm going to fall, you know, I'm going to fall that we're able to keep this money into our summer employment program, our summer youth program, and employ those, instead of employing 175 kids, maybe we need to employ 275 kids. And so I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. We need lights, we need sidewalks, we need cameras. That's important. But we have a critical need today to fund these jobs for these young people. We don't have to switch money, exchange money, give money back to the trust, and they give it to us. As long as we leave it for children, to me, that's what it's intended for. And so if we can fund these children today without switching, I'm not interested in switching money with Children's Trust. I'm interested in providing these children. And these are children from all over Escambia County. They're red, yellow, they're black, they're white, they're Democrats, they're Republicans, they're from District 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 who are looking for a job. And quite frankly, we were giving out signing bonuses for $2,000 to get people to become correction officers, EMS, paramedics, all type of jobs. And we had to go out and recruit them. Our summer employment program, we are training them, we're evaluating them, we're creating them, and we're placing them in jobs. And quite frankly, we have 30-plus children now who are gainfully employed, who are making money. So I would like to see this. I'd like to see every dime that's been allocated for the CRAs be moved to enhance our summer employment program, because quite frankly, we ended up after about 6 or 7 weeks, it could be a year-round program if it was funded properly. So Mike, that's where I stand, and that's what I'm going to support.
Well, I don't have a problem with programs, but what you said earlier on cameras, I'll just give you an example. 2 years ago, Mike Rhodes was here. We had an event at Lexington Terrace, and it was a complete and utter unsafe situation. Kids were out there. It was just a disaster. Last Easter weekend, we've had the sheriff put up a camera. We had to change the whole thing, and we had kids out there doing Easter egg hunt. It was a beautiful thing. We had hundreds of people out there. So when people say cameras don't matter, it sure does, because it changed the whole event. And that Mike Rhodes knows this. He's sitting in the back. And we tried to make it better at Lexington Terrace for some of the people there that just want to use the park and feel safe. So,
Mike, let me just say, because me and you are on the same page. Bellevue football field, we had a shooting and a killing. I know those kids. This past year we had, and where we've had to deploy, you know, thousands of dollars for safety of children. Montclair Park, where kids go to Montclair Elementary School, I don't care what program Boys and Girls Club run. Children are afraid to go. They can't go after dark. They got to be home before dark. So don't think that I'm not agreeing with you. I mean, I think that there is a great need. I don't think that there's anything wrong in the direction in which you're going. I could be supportive. I just know that there's a current need right now for giving those kids that are coming up here for Chain Reaction a job. The kids that are coming from all of our neighborhoods a job. If it's the desire of this board for more cameras, I get it. Who wants to go to school? Warrenton Middle, the trust has had multiple of our organizations put money into Warrenton, which is a school that's near and dear to your heart. How the heck can you learn when children are bringing guns to school? How the heck can you learn when kids are bringing vapes inside the classroom? You can't. So the camera security is important. And so if we don't foster a culture of safety, I don't give a dang what program you have, the children are still not going to learn. So I say that to say, Mike, as long as we're doing something to enhance the life of children, I'm on board. Whether it's the direction of where you want to go, whether it's that direction, I know what my preference is. My preference is to fund summer employment program, but I certainly will yield to my colleagues of what you want to do and say, again, you know, we had over 1,300 kids to apply for a summer job, and with the funding, and thank you, Wes, for getting that funding, and Stephen for working, we can only employ 175 children out of 1,300 children who are trying to get a job in Escambia County.
Commissioner Stroberger, I see you have your light on.
So I think everybody here can appreciate the mission of the Escambia Children's Trust. And I think one of the criticisms for you, Lindsay, was that we weren't spending the money. That's why we got $25 million unencumbered. I don't know if it all is. How much is actually encumbered? How much is it? All of it? All $25 million is encumbered.
Well,
I don't think this $500,000 is going to affect Chain Reaction. I just don't think it will. And I don't think that when the Escambia Children's Trust was established, it was expecting a $500,000 in tax breaks as part of their operating budget. I don't think so. We can debate how we would spend the money, but Bellevue Park is in my district. I know about that. And we still have an unsafe situation there. It's not like all the other parks. It's different. And I can find ways to spend the money over there too, to make it safer. Because I agree with my colleagues that it's making it safe for kids is important. That is probably, it's the number one, it really is the number one goal of government it's the mission is to keep us all safe and to keep kids safe.
Commissioner Hofberger, you have your light on?
Thank you. So I will say when I was campaigning, one of the things that I didn't understand that I have came to understand over the last 8 months is not all the money goes to the same pot. Money is collected for specific reasons, and that money can only be spent for specific reasons. When I look at the Children's Trust and how it came to be, I look at why people voted yes to give Children's Trust the money. And I can say I don't think most people voted for that to put sidewalks in. I think most people voted for that to provide a better future for our children and to make sure that they have access to things that they need, such as better education and someone to tutor them and someone to encourage them and someone to let them know they can be something. For all the people that came here tonight, thank you for advocating for yourself. That is a huge life skill and something that some people never learn. So you are ahead of many adults, so be proud of yourself. For that reason, I would be a proponent for providing the tax break and not collecting that money, because I think that what the community voted on is for the Children's Trust to invest that money in our kids, not in infrastructure.
Thank you,
Point of
Commissioner
clarification,
Hofberger.
point of clarification, Commissioner. So are you being supportive of us taking that funding, other funding, and put it from the summer employment program, or are you just saying put it back, not collecting the money at all?
You can still fund the summer program whether we take the tax money or not, correct?
Yes.
So, Commissioner, if you take the money, then you take it into the CRAs, and you'd be limited to spending it on CRA purposes, and I would have you look to your attorney as to whether or not the Summer Youth Employment Program would qualify under the CRA. I would think it would not, but I would have you ask your attorney.
Okay, thanks,
Allison, can you
Meredith.
speak up? I heard.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was trying to make sure that this is, all right, so to boil it down, I see it as you have two choices tonight. You can grant the requested waiver, and if you do that, you should direct that your staff bring back at your next board meeting a finalized interlocal agreement with the Children's Trust. They are proposing that interlocal addresses paying for the Summer Youth Employment Program. And I think that would be allowable, and you have to have an interlocal if you're granting them the waiver under the statute. So that's choice A. Or choice B is you deny the waiver, and then it gets spent for CRA purposes. That means it's going to be geographically bound to those CRAs that would have collected that money, and you're not going to be able to pay for Summer Youth Employment Program with that monies. It's going to have to be spent according to the CRA statutory constrictions, which is going to be mostly infrastructure like you've talked about. So those are the two choices that I see that you have.
Well,
I would, okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
Mike, okay, so, I mean, and here's a good point. It's CRA money, so it certainly could be geographically constricted to the purpose in which it was collected. That's one. Two, the Children's Trust collateral material and how the vote was yielded was off the backs of poor children and black and brown children, period. And so, I mean, when we're talking about distributing this money, you know, holistically, that could be a problem. I mean, here's where my support is, and the vote can fall wherever it falls, that we take those funds that came into the CRA and we help afford these disadvantaged children a job opportunity. And so how do we get there from here? I mean, that's the legal part for me, or then it forces me to be in a position that, I'm going to vote another way. That's the intended purpose. The trust has sent forth that. How do we work that out? I mean, how do we eliminate enough, with government money, staff money, lawyers' money, staffing money, that we create another payment plan of how the people who deserve the money don't get 100% of it? How do we put 100% of that money back in the hands of the children is my question, Alf.
Well, I'll just say this. I voted for the Children's Trust.
I voted for it too.
And I'll tell you what, I didn't think about programs only. I thought about kids is when I voted for it. That's why I thought about kids. As a kid that had to start at 12 going to Carr Park and playing schools because my mom and dad wasn't home, it affected my life. And there's a lot of kids that can't get to a program but can get to a park and play with people, and it changes their life. I guess that's why I'm so vocal about this. Because for me, I don't think I'd be here if I didn't go to Carr Park starting at 12 years old. And playing with other kids that didn't have their parents home because they were working, like my dad was on the swing shift. So for me, if it's all about programs, then it's all about programs. For me, it's all about kids. And so that's where I stand. The board voted 5-0 last year. If the board doesn't want to do it, I'll be by myself. But I ain't worried about the money from the first 2 years that you didn't pay. I'm willing to waive that off. But I would say that the Children's Trust paid it last year. And here's the other problem. I'm going to just say this. And I've told this to you, Lindsay. You don't have one person on the board from District 2. Not one person. Not one. I know. But how do people that don't even live around poor communities can fairly represent them? I mean, come on, man. I mean,
you're preaching like a Democrat.
I think we're waiting on the governor to go through our list, correct? Like that's legit not Lindsay's fault.
I know, but it does. I get it. But it's a point to be noted that if you're not even have some of the poorest communities that are represented, it's just human bias. It's natural. And I think I guess, look, I know where I stand.
Mike, I see where you are. Mike, I'll tell you from my personal experience. You have a personal experience. On last Saturday, I was coaching a basketball team. A lady came up. She has 2 kids who are great athletes. And she said, Commissioner, we don't have anywhere to stay. My kids go to Global Learning Academy. I got evicted. I work at Red Roof Inn. And I don't have any money. We don't have anywhere to stay. It's Saturday. Well, we can't get any assistance for her. She has 4 children, so you give her some money and say, can she get a night? And she's back Sunday because we still can't get help on Monday, and you give her some money. And the kids are hungry, and we're feeding those children, and they're staying in a car. They're not the ones that you see on the street. And so that's Sunday. And then Monday, we're trying to facilitate. And then there are 2 other children with her that I said, where do these young children come from? Why aren't they going to school at Global? It was 2 young girls, 1 girl in the 4th grade, 1 girl in the 5th grade. About 8:30 that night, their mom come down to Legion Field. They're looking for her. Well, she's homeschooled, and she had ran away. She had been away from home in the 4th grade. That's why it's important that we find services for those kids. And, the most ideal program, unfortunately, these drive-by mentoring programs, these programs don't see that. And so I respect where you're going, because you know what they say? They stayed in a car in a park at Legion Field. They needed lights, they needed safety, they needed somebody to give them food. So I don't think that there's one solution for anything that relates to poverty or delinquency. I think we have to all work together. And I've said, from the beginning, we're having this conversation over 1 year, and there's yet to be a decision at the city of Pensacola. We don't even know where the city is going with their CRA dollars.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. In their budget, you have $517,000.
Well, they were funded for their after-school programs. Listen, I'm with you on that. But still, the CRA dollars, the mayor hadn't made a decision. I think that it's, in my opinion,
561, actually.
561, whatever the city after-school programs are funded. And I think we run some of the finest after-school programs around. Leroy and Claire and their staff does that. But how do we figure out, how do we work with the city, the trust, and the county in the deliverables? I mean, so we are way ahead of this because, quite frankly, it's politically easier to come beat the county up than it is to go beat anybody else up. And so we're having this discussion tonight. And we hadn't even had it at city council, hadn't even made a decision about what they're going to do. The mayor is talking about daycare and those critical needs. They have not even got a memorandum of understanding. They got even more CRA dollars, and we're not even having that conversation. So for me, I want to find the happy medium of how we can work together, and that's why I was supportive when Lindsay bought of spending that money on a summer employment program, because we know where that money goes. We know that that money is going, it's not any administrative, it's not going in anybody's pocket, it's not anybody's salary, it goes to those children. But I respect you. I was on the side with Sheriff Simmons that he needed cameras, so you're not off, because I understand how these neighborhoods are. I understand that children in Montclair can't go outside, and I understand.
Are you
how
making a motion?
I have not made a motion yet. I'm just want to figure out where you are
I'll
and to be
pass the
supportive.
gavel if no one wants to make a
How
motion.
much money are we looking at for cameras? Like, do we really need just $500,000 for cameras?
I think the number was about a half.
Commissioner
5, 6, 4.
Hoffberger, we're going to vote for $25 million potentially tonight for turf fields. I have the only failing school in Warrington that doesn't even have a multi-use park within 5 miles. The baseball field, which is in Commissioner May's district, they walk down Navy Boulevard to play football at the baseball field. I mean, at some point we got to say, we're going to take care of kids in poor communities. I mean, it's just a fact. It's just a fact. If we don't like it, let's just admit it. But I'm going to take care of the
I
people
get
in
you.
Warrington.
Mike, I don't even have a middle school in District 3, so, I mean, I get what you're saying. So if you want to know where my vote is tonight, if that's not the wishes of majority of the board, I'll be supportive. I'm not interested in switching money, and if it just can't work legally or logistically, I mean, whatever was in the parameters of how we can do it to make sure that money is spent on our children, that's important to me. And I agree, the city has been double funded. They were funded for their after-school programs, and we don't even know where they're going to land in terms of what they're going to do with their CRA dollars.
Well, we had that same issue last year, Commissioner May. It was the same issue. So, I mean, well, if no one wants to make a motion, I'll pass the gavel and
I'll make a motion. I mean, I'm not afraid to make a motion.
Hold on, Commissioner Berry or Commissioner Strohberger?
Mr. Chairman, so, this is, tonight as well as previous discussions, I've kind of let y'all, kind of take the lead. It's been, something that you and Commissioner May, certainly him serving on there, have been very passionate about. But, I supported not granting the waiver, as you mentioned last year, 5-0, clearly that had a lot of board support. And, I've been concerned, as I think a lot of folks in our community have been, with goings on at the Children's Trust just generally. With some, some decisions as well as some things that have been funded, some things that have not been funded. But it seems like the way the item has come back to us this evening is framed in the context of, if you grant the exemption, it's coming with a pairing of more or less dollar for dollar is going to fund our summer youth employment program, which is a program, not infrastructure, but it is a program that directly benefits the youth as well as it benefits the county. And we have a lot of successes out of that summer youth program. It's been, one of the passions of my dear friend to my left over these years that we've served together. So it's not, granting a waiver tonight, I wouldn't feel like is just basically alleviating the pressure from the trust and having more funds go to their control, as long as it's paired with the partnership that they're going to fund our summer youth employment program, then that seems like I'm not sure who negotiated that, maybe.
No, I'm not negotiating.
Well, that outcome seems like a reasonable outcome. Whoever had the conversations that, kind of brought that idea with the possible exemption, that seems like a reasonable, a reasonable avenue to me. It's not a perpetual exemption. If we were to grant the exemption and have an interlocal agreement for them to fund the summer youth employment program, and then that doesn't go especially well, then I think I'll be right back where I was last year when I voted to not grant the exemption.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'll be by myself. I think.
Mike, and, you know, I'm trying to, you know, get to consensus.
Because I think they should pay for the summer youth program anyways, and I still think we should get infrastructure.
And I would agree with you, and I'm towards here, that I think they should have. I mean, we should have applied. I mean, I think our human services did, and they were denied from what Claire has told me. You know, Mike, I'm with you. You're waiving the first 2 years of exemption. I'm saying we need all the money. We need more.
Well, I said I'm
need all
willing
the
to.
money
I
for the
didn't say
summer youth.
I was there. It's up to the board.
I
but
mean, so if they were willing to pull all the money, you know, for those 3 years into the summer employment, Mike, that's where I would be. And I get where you're saying that we need it for the infrastructure, but I'm saying we do need it for human capital, and we do need it for the jobs. And so, you know, if there's a happy medium, Commissioner Berry, Commissioner Holberger, Commissioner Kohler-Stroger, that's what I would be. I would want to make sure that we get all of those funds. Allison, would we get it dollar for dollar? And I guess, Lindsay, I would ask you, would there be administrative cost to that? Or is it, or if we were seeking all of the dollars that went to CRA for our summer employment program? And Mike, you know, if you don't want to put it all for summer youth, I mean, would it be for Lexington Terrace?
like that
Two different
idea.
issues
Is
for
that an
me. I
option?
mean, I'm not against summer youth. We're talking 1.9% out of a budget that can help safety.
I understand.
I mean, it's a holistic approach. I don't want to, I'm the only one that's a nurse, the only one that's a teacher. I just can't believe that we can't think that safety in the poorest communities out of a $25 million budget, that we can't get there. But if we can.
No, Mike, listen, I don't think, for me, I don't disagree with you, brother. I don't disagree. I'm trying to, in good negotiation, find that happy medium. Like you said, you were willing to forgive the other 2 years.
Well, why don't we do this? Ask them to pay for the youth program out of the $700,000 they owe us, and then the CRA for this year. Can you do? Because they haven't paid us for that. That'd be it. Yeah.
Say that again,
Allison.
I didn't
They can
understand.
certainly
you.
volunteer.
Well, you still owe us $700,000 that you haven't paid for the first 2 years. Couldn't you put that forward to youth program, and then we could still do the CRA? I mean, there's a lot of money that the statute says that we can have that we're not getting.
I would say that decision would be from our board. I couldn't speak to that, but I think that anything is possible if you are willing to work collaboratively, which is what we've been asking from the beginning. So a lot of the problems that you guys are talking about, I know I've met with most of you, were here before me. I mean, and I think I've done a pretty good job of mitigating a lot of that and getting this ball rolling and getting those dollars out the door so they're not sitting in a bank account. But currently, all this is encumbered in a bank account because we can't come to a partnership agreement here. And meanwhile, I'm seeing these kids over here that I think could work in your county offices, and it would be awesome. They're not the only ones, though. So that was something unique. Clara reached out to me and said, we have a shortfall, and I'm concerned because if we don't do this, we'll only be able to serve 75 kids. So it sounds like there's been some conversation. You guys were able to pull some more dollars in there. So what does that look like if we can put our dollars towards that?
Well,
yeah, it's a lot more kids,
would you be willing to pay the 21 and 22, the $700,000 into the youth program?
I would have to ask my
and then we use the
board.
24 budget for CRAs. I mean, we are owed a lot of money that we're not getting.
I would say they would probably be, and this is just me saying this, we have a board meeting coming up, so I can bring it up and speak to them about it. They would probably prefer to do a multi-year contract essentially with the youth employment program or expanding it, sort of like you were talking about, Commissioner May, and use those dollars, back dollars for that. But I have no problem
Mike,
asking,
I mean, here's where our numbers would be if we, not even all 1,300, I mean, we would be at about $1.2 million, you know, if we were employing, you know, 80% of the summer youth. So I guess, and Lindsay, I know you can't speak for the board because I sit on the board.
Exactly.
And so, but I think the board would follow your guidance. I think the chairman is trying to find a resolution that we can all go forward. And I mean, I guess if this needs to be pushed to a further negotiation, it can. I mean, my vote. I mean, my vote is going to be
good faith measure from the Children's Trust for the 2 years that didn't pay the county to put that in the youth program, and then for the 24 year, we get the $495,000 for the CRAs for the safety. So can I make a motion for that, Allison, or will
Do you mind, just one more, and if that's what you want to do, Mr. Chairman, but I would say that we would still have a shortfall even if you just took those 2 years and didn't take the third year. But in the
It's
spirit
a
of
happy
compromise,
medium.
listen, I'm here. I can't have it all my way. So if I had my way, I'd put it off for summer employment for me. But it's okay. I mean, I'm not gonna bicker with you on it. I mean, you know, you've been very passionate about it, and I will respect
Commissioner
your
Berry, you
passion.
have your light on?
But I know.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done, Commissioner.
No, you're fine. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I've kind of stated my piece, and I get the opportunity to see the young people that get a job and they dress up, and you know, Larry Downs talking about taking off a belt. I mean, and our kids don't even know that you have to wear a belt to go to work. And young people who worked in the attorney's office, engineering. I mean, we've heard the testimonials. I mean, that program makes a difference. When we want people to live, work, and play in Escambia County. We want to recruit them. I mean, what better way to create diversity? What better way to give people a door? Our intern program is a successful program, and a summer employment program to give them a job. I agree with you on everything you said. The kids got to be safe, but at the same time, they do need money. And you know, this would, you know, probably be unprecedented if we could get all 3 years for the summer employment program. It would. Quite frankly, it would affect all of the partner agencies who are working with the trust. And, you know, quite frankly, we probably wouldn't be able to sustain it because we'd only be getting, you know, $400,000 or $500,000 in future years. But in this tough economic time that we're facing right now, I mean, I can just tell you, there are a ton of kids that left Florida State that are in all of our districts that came home early because of the shooting and the gun violence that are looking for jobs, or that are trying to get jobs. And if we could create a lot of jobs with this money, that's what I'd be supportive of. But obviously, if Lindsay can't give an answer, she has to go back to her board. It's going to be a tough decision, and if we have to
Well,
make a
we've already
decision
voted
tonight.
for that, so I think we could redirect that, but I hear you. It's Commissioner Berry?
Yeah, I was just going to say seems like a reasonable outcome. I mean, this is a public hearing tonight. I mean, it's not a land use public hearing, so it doesn't have to be in the evening, Madam
No, we're not
Council. We
voting
could
on
bring back I mean, if there's, you know, the collaboration, and you know, Ms. Cannon made a comment about the collaboration. I think some of the angst that our board has had the last few years has been that, you know, and it may have been prior to you, but, you know, the county did take what we felt like was a very worthwhile request to the board and was denied. And, you know, another municipality in our area took a request that I don't know had any more merit, but was, you know, more readily accepted for whatever reason. So that collaboration is, you know, it's one thing to give a narrative of collaboration. It's another thing to have put that into human practice, and that's not, you know, that was not our experience when we took the one proposal to the board. So it sounds like there's more of that. Just the initiative or the open-mindedness to allow for the funds that would come from the exemption to go towards the summer youth program, I think is somewhat an indication of attempt to collaborate. So it sounds like there's been some progress made tonight. Maybe we bring it back to a public hearing at the next, you know, and we can have that at a morning meeting. And pair it with something that's maybe a longer-term approach, whether it, and, you know, the $700,000 that we're owed in back, that is a lot of money. They, you know, they do have it, so that I don't think that's, you know, in question. And maybe you can, you know, maybe you can work with Ms. Cannon or someone else to bring back something that does encompass maybe a 3-year plan, but also addresses the funds that are in arrears that you know, our board has consistently voted that we do consider those funds owed. And, but I think there's been some progress made tonight. So I think that's a good thing.
Well, I'm willing to make a motion, but if no one wants to do it, you know, I'm sorry.
I had a question because there was 2 things that were proposed, and I just want to make sure that I'm clear. Commissioner May, were you saying take the 2 years back pay and this year and roll that into the summer youth program? Would you?
So nothing for CRAs. And my proposal is the 2021 for the summer youth program and 24 for the CRA. I think that's a fair trade-off.
And that's probably where
And you're going to benefit from that too, you know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so Commissioner Kohler, I don't think we disagree. I think Commissioner Berry said we've made some progress and we come back. I mean, Mike, I'll tell you where I'll be. You know, here's the public. If we got those 2 years and this year for the summer employment program, and we came to negotiation, and she takes it back to her board, and they wouldn't make a 3-year commitment like they've done every other organization, I'm going to be hard-pressed not to be supportive of sending all the money back to the CRA, because as Commissioner Berry said, that's not a collaborative spirit. And if they have that collaborative spirit, I'm going to be willing to work with them. And the only reason I would say I have reservations to go with Commissioner Berry, there's a lot of pressure that they're putting on us to make a quick decision tonight, where the city has not even made a decision.
No, we have to make, they have to do it, right, Allison?
We don't have to do it tonight. It's the first public hearing.
In May, correct? Isn't that what?
No, it's the first public hearing.
I'm not sure exactly what you're wanting to do. Are we trying to, so there is a statutory timeline
Right.
that goes along with their request for a waiver of the 2024.
When does it expire?
It's already gone. I mean, it's already passed. I think it was 40 days or something. I mean, we're already past that. So
So in 14 days,
Are
what would
we-
be the difference if we came back on May 15th?
if we can get them to agree that we're going to schedule another public hearing on their request for a waiver for 2024 for the May 15th agenda, and if they're okay with that, then I think
Well, the only option
That's
is if they'll be
okay.
okay with it, or we're going to make a vote, and it may not be as favorable as we want.
No, I believe we are okay with coming back in 2 weeks, and in the meantime, discussing with you use of all 3 years' funds.
Do you guys have a board meeting between now and then that you'll be able to discuss that?
Tuesday.
You do?
Yes,
Okay.
We do, and we always have a legal, Meredith gives an update, so we can, and I'm pretty sure they're all watching, so we can have some discussion. And I will just say this, I do think they would be willing, and I can have individual conversations as well, to look at utilizing what we have from back and what's current for that summer youth program. I do. I think it's a great, just so you know, I mean, I used to refer kids to it all the time. It is an amazing, life-changing program, and so when Clara connected with me, of course, I wanted to jump on board with that because I know it's a great program. So I will ask my board. I'm comfortable with it, so, but I cannot speak for them. But I
Right,
will
and
certainly
Lindsay, I think
share.
the board's watching, and I serve on the board. I think they see the direction of where this is probably going to land. I mean, because I think all of us are concerned with safety. And so that's, hopefully.
That's up to you.
Hopefully it'll go to help children.
heads up that that's a weird meeting. May the 15th is a 1 o'clock public forum and a 1:30 start time, so just, I mean, depending on what audience
But
you're
the
at.
children are important. People come at 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, the kids are important.
just
Commissioner
pointing it out.
Stroberger.
I just want to say, it seems like we got away from last year, the reasons why you wanted the money before. Both of you. I mean, I think Mike's still on board with that, and now we're just making a jobs program out of this money now.
Of a jobs program, but a youth employment program is, I mean, and you're absolutely right. I mean, I was way on board with the sheriff and where Mike
I'm just
is.
wondering what once the money's gone, have we built anything? I want to build something.
But
Steve, you'll still have kids over at Lexington Terrace in the dark wondering why they don't have a multi-use field, but that's okay. I'll go back and tell them that, when you're poor, you just have to suck it up.
No, not Mike. You know that's not me. I believe we ought to have lights in parks for all children.
Hey, people's actions are determined by.
Steve, and because I'm not going to be someone that flakes on what we've said. And I initially came out with cameras and lights in support of Commissioner Kohler, and that's where I have a lot of hesitation because I believe in exactly what he said. You got to have cameras, you got to have lights, and have a safety. And the sheriff told us that we had to have that. I think that there's a compromise that if we could get that programming, and if the trust would make a commitment of this money and a multi-year, what they've done with every other organization. If the trust comes back and says, oh, we're going to give you your arrearage and this money, and it's 1 year, and we're not going to do this employment program, I think I would have a different position on the 15th. If they came back and say, we're going to give you this, but we're going to put you as part of the multi-3-year commitment that they made to everybody else to fund that, I think that's another conversation, Steve. Because then if they do that, we can reallocate economic development money for lights and cameras that we are currently using for summer employment. If they did that. So, I mean, I don't want to waver or get an indication that I'm not supporting the chairman because I am supporting the chairman in his ideology of where he is.
Allison, do we need to make a motion?
Yes. You need a motion and a vote to schedule a public hearing for the May 15th board meeting, and they might even be able to give us the specific public hearing time on May the 15th, but we can get that from Jose if he doesn't have one
I
available.
would like to make a motion that we schedule a second public meeting for May 15th at the meeting starting at 1:30 PM.
I'll second it.
Please vote. Motion passes 4-1 with the chair voting no. All right, let's please move on. Clerk and Comptroller's report.
Thank you. We have 2 items on the consent agenda for your approval. One is going to be documents for filing. The other is minutes prepared. There's one information item, which is the clerk's report on discretionary fund expenditures. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Horace, what for GMR? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, actually, I was.
I moved the clerk's
Approve
report.
clerk's report. I'm sorry about that. Is there a second? Commissioner Berry, did you say yes?
I moved the clerk's report.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. All right, Horace, you're up for GMR.
Yes, sir. For the first, 545, public hearing to review and adopt a small-scale map amendment 2025-01 to review and adopt.
Is there a motion to approve GMR 545?
I make a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
please vote.
I second Commissioner Hoffberger's motion.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Horace.
Yes, the next item, to review and adopt an amendment amending the coastal management element, Chapter 11 of the comprehensive plan. That's required.
Okay, do we have a motion to?
I make
So
a
moved.
motion.
All right, and Commissioner Hopperger, second. Please vote. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, everybody. We're at GMR action item 2-1.
Yes, sir, the final plat, recommendation for approval, Fall Chase Commercial Papstone.
Okay.
Commercial subdivision.
So no speakers. Okay, is there a second? All right, please vote. Did you get Commissioner May as a second? I think Commissioner May was the second with his
Yes.
hand up. Okay.
Commissioner Stroberger made the motion and Commissioner
Yeah.
May seconded. Got it. Okay, thank you.
All right, motion passes 5-0 if I remember correctly. All right, Horace, we're at number 2.
Yes, sir. The next item is a final plat approval for Sanctuary Subdivision Phase 3.
Okay, there's no speakers.
So moved.
Second.
All right, please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
Then we have our consent agenda.
So moved.
All right, is there a second? Okay, please vote. All right, thank you all. Motion passes 5-0. Well, thank you, Horace. Wes, we're at the county administrative report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are 6 items on the technical public service consent agenda. There are no changes, and there are no speakers.
I'm moving, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Wes. Let's go to car budget and finance.
There are 26 items on the budget finance consent agenda. Please drop car 2-22, the recommendation concerning purchase order for Jacobs Engineering for transportation project support. Please hold car 2-7 for discussion, and you also have a speaker for 2-7.
Okay, does anyone want to move the balance?
I move the balance, Mr. Chairman.
All right,
Second.
okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Our first speaker on 2-7 is Tom Jardine. Is Tom here?
How many speakers do we have on this item, Mr. Chair?
Well, just one on car 2. We have we have an item with several speakers coming up.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Tom Jardine. I live on Pensacola Beach. I've lived there 30 years. This is a kind of an interesting item, $25 million, I believe, and it may be a good idea. In fact, I think we spend way too much of our citizens' tourism money on advertising, that we don't need all that advertising. And this is not advertising for once, but this thing's moving kind of quickly, which scares me. I have an old-fashioned notion that $25 million is a lot of money. And first of all, can we have some kind of, when we have these huge allocations like that, I know that like we need $30 million for the Bay Center, which I agree with. We need to do something about that Bay Center. But somehow it's turned into where we're thinking about a $100 million project around the city. And, you know, we may have a good idea about the $7 million Gateway project as well. We were just talking about a $60 million project for volleyball courts or whatever in, you know, in District 5. Can we bundle all this stuff and get some, you know, maybe a referendum or something for this? I don't think the citizens you need some buy-in for the citizens when we're thinking about taking a loan for $25 million. It's moving really fast. The TSC only talked about this item last meeting, which was the April 15th. Is already you guys are thinking about voting on this thing, I assume. The TDC, they were 5-3, by the way. They weren't fully on board with this thing either. But it went so quickly. I mean, like, we know we needed sand replenishment for the public beaches on Pensacola Beach. The TDC, I mean, our tourist money a lot of that tourist money comes from the public beaches on Pensacola Beach. The TDC knew for 10 years that we were going to have to do that project. But at that same April 15th meeting, they were all, wringing their hands and, and biting their pencils and wondering how they're going to come up with some money for the beaches. But suddenly, they vote for a $25 million project where we're going to take a loan. I don't know if you looked at the backup, but all those, it looks like we're late to the party. We have a bunch of competition. Everybody else has, all the neighboring communities already have these ball fields and everything. I don't know why we're coming in late. If it's such a great idea, why isn't private enterprise come in here I mean, I don't know, just fully vet this thing out, please. It may be a good idea, but it makes me very uncomfortable. It's moving very, very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Commissioner May, you have some conversation on this, or is your light just on for?
I apologize.
Okay. I'll just make a comment after what we just discussed. I'm going to support this, Commissioner Berry, but it's hard for me to support 20 turf fields when there's not one multi-use field in District 2.
Well, it's not in District 5 either, for what it's worth, but.
Well, but I know you're supportive of it. It's in Commissioner May's district, but I know you butt up to it. But I got it. You're supportive
I'm not going
of
to get in
it.
y'all's argument.
It's like you taking.
You got more people in your district than I got. They go there.
No,
Come on,
it's a lot of money. I mean, $25 million, and I can't even get 200,000. So I just, it's sad, man. But I'm gonna support it. I'm gonna support it because you know what? I believe, and I know some people on the city council had some issues with the number, and I do think it's important that I talked to Stefan that we mentioned. There was some concern if it would affect the Bay Center project. And indirectly, it could a little bit. We got to be honest about that. But Stefan gave us some numbers that shared that we still could probably do a very robust project at the Bay Center as we move forward with that as well. So I'm going to support this because I think the county needs things all over the county. But yes.
And I appreciate that tremendously. I do hope it's recognized. There was another item that the TDC supported about 9 months ago related to a project at Ashton Brosnahan.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was much more expensive than this, and these seats. A couple of us have been here for a little while. You for a little while shorter, and then a couple a little while shorter than that. I mean. The seats are challenging, as a room full of folks might attest to this evening. The seats are challenging sometimes, and we can have the best ideas, and if we can't cobble together some support among colleagues, then it's kind of moot. It doesn't matter. We can have the best ideas on an island don't produce for your constituents. And it doesn't matter now. I mean, you don't want perfect to be the enemy of good. I think this is a great project, but the idea for the indoor basketball and volleyball at Ashton Brosnahan was also a tremendous project. And like I said, the TDC, I don't remember the vote, but I think it might have been unanimous when they voted to support that project and bring that project forward to our board. Mm-hmm. And in light of some other things that happened around that time, I, kind of asked the administrator that let's not do that. Let's hold off and have different discussions. And this is the manifestation of those different discussions that have begun. That did begin a long time ago. I think I'm very committed for the remaining portion of our capacity, for our debt placement capacity to go to the Bay Center project. I've, stated that in, in some private meetings, and we'll say that here publicly, and we'll certainly help with that as much as, as much as I'm asked to. The ROI on this is something we can deploy relatively quickly, and the ROI, and it's going to be, it's going to be quick, and I think we're going to see the impact of it relatively soon as things are deployed. It's something that I think is tremendous for our community. For many, many years, it would have been in District 5. As you noted, it's very close. It is very close. But it's a great thing, and I know the Bay Center is important to to a number of you, and I'm hopeful we can move forward with this. But with this, on video, as we might not like some of the videos that from 10 or 12 years ago that do still exist on demand. Lumen, some colorful exchanges. My support for your for the remaining bonding capacity is being memorialized tonight. So I will certainly help with that, and I will work with Stefan and whatever is needed to make sure we have the funds to put a transformational project on that property as well. So, but I do appreciate the support, Mike, and the trust, and I think a lot of that also comes from the trust and support that many of us have with Parks and Rec Director Mike Rhodes, as well as Adam Reed. I know the two of them are in the audience. Pensacola Sports Association, Ray Palmer is not here, but they did do, I think they helped put together a lot of the presentation that was done for the TDC meeting, which I'm sure many of us watched, and thought Michael did a great job in that meeting advocating on our behalf, on our cumulative county behalf. I thought he did a great job at TDC, so I want to specifically state that. But I do appreciate your support, and I'm happy to talk about this as much as y'all would like to. I would move the item if y'all are open to that.
Well, there's a few more discussion items, but I think you're going to get a win. Commissioner Stroberger, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm in support of this too, whoever's district this is.
Appreciate that.
I at first was kind of hesitant about 20 fields, but I understand the ROI will be good. I agree with that, and there won't be anything like this in the area with this many, right? We'll be very, very, very competitive. There just won't be any place else with this kind of capacity. I like that. I would have liked to see Lumen at the mullet toss, though, at least, if this is for him.
Oh my God.
Well, Commissioner, I mean, and I certainly support my colleague and Commissioner Berry, and he probably spends more time at that park. I mean, I probably spend more time at your park at Bellevue than there, but I support the project. Those citizens from the north end come down within the urban core inner city. We just don't do a lot of baseball. But doesn't mean I don't support it. I see this as something that will create bed tax and bring people into town, but it'll be something that everyone can use. I've not been close to it at all. I've never grabbed a mullet to throw. I mean, I've grabbed many of them to eat, and I like them filleted and in nuggets. So, I mean, if you get those, I'd be happy to have them. But I do have a question, Commissioner Perry. I mean, obviously, we're gonna to support the project, but what about the Miracle League? Will that still be included, or is it just the John R. Jones fields?
What is that? I don't even know what the Miracle
It's
League
for
is.
the children with disabilities who play baseball on 9 Mile Road.
Yeah, so that's not going to be affected. They're going to continue operations. We have 3 fields that they're playing on there, and we have 250, 300 kids that are young people, children and young adults that are playing there, and it's going to continue. We're certainly not going to impact that. They're celebrating their 20th year as an organization this year, and I believe next year will be the 20th year of playing. It took a couple of years to raise the money to get the first field built, but
And it's just the baseball fields. It's not the football field and soccer field. It's
the project itself. It will cover the football field as well as the practice football field to the west, where lacrosse was played some this year. So it's going to be the full footprint, which I think is going to give us opportunities to to host even more. To host even more young people, and that's what we're, and that's obviously what the hope is. But
Well, thank you. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, whenever it's the point, I'm happy to move it.
Commissioner Hofberger, do you have a comment?
Awesome. I'm excited to support this as well because it does diversify our tourism economy. So it adds another spoke in the wheel of everything that makes Escambia County great. And it's great to have a win for the community and the economy, so I'm happy to support it for that. I also want to be clear that we're all aware that we have the bonding capacity of about $100 million from the LOST. This is taking $25 million, so we have $75 million left for the Bay Center. Just want to be upfront that we all
No, I get
are
it.
aware of that, but excited to support this project. Thank you.
I just want to say this, because obviously the price tag looked large, but then you look, hopefully it'll be transformational. But I think it's important to share this. When Commissioner Bender was on the board, him and I went to a FAT conference, and I think it was in Seminole County, and they took us on a field trip at a park that had several of these turf fields. And they did a presentation, and the number of team leagues that came in to use the fields, actually after they put them in, just shot through the roof. And so, and I also think it's good to diversify in the county different things, so we spread that out. So I'm happy to
Mr.
support.
Chairman, Steve, one last question for you, and maybe for Mike. We're going to deploy $25 million. Most of our parks are ran by parent organizations, which is turf is very expensive. And, I mean, obviously, you know, there are a lot of other parks throughout. This will be controlled by our Parks and Rec Department, correct? I mean, as to have a central park that everyone can use, not just this one parent association. We're not going to turn this over to a parent organization.
This will be a tag team approach where it will not affect the current recreation leagues. We've got full support with the existing Inslee Football League, with the existing Northeast Pensacola Baseball League, with the Miracle League, along with our adult softball
And I appreciate the
association.
support, but I appreciate that we are running it.
We will be coordinating all events
Right.
out there.
So if someone from somewhere else wants to use that park, we're not going to go through a association that's ran by parents. It will be under the county control.
That is correct.
Okay.
And a byproduct for your support of this tonight would be 1,000 youth are playing recreation sports currently at that facility this season, a combination of spring baseball at NEP, Miracle League, as well as lacrosse. And with football picking up with registration right now, the local youth are going to be the benefactors as well for this. As I can say, I could have filled the room up tonight with youth recreation players, but they're on the fields practicing. So, but there's a lot of wear and tear.
And we can fill it up with another 1,000. We can fill it up with another 1,000 that want to use it.
Hey, Mike, just oh, go ahead.
No, so as long as we have that clarity, Mike, I'm good. I'm going to support my colleague, but I just want to be clear that, you know, when we want to host the football championship there on turf field or people have games.
I want you to bring the soul ball down there.
Hey, Mike,
come on.
Come on now. About that.
Hey, Mike, since you came to the mic, I'd like to, because we're taking out tourist development, I looked at Ray's, but you firmly believe it'll expand outside local stuff to the tourism in the regional area?
Absolutely.
And I read that, and I thought the same thing, but I think it's good to have that on record since it's coming out of TDC money, and I think it will too. But that's the whole mission
There's going to be
here,
a lot
right?
of competition, but I'm pretty confident that Pensacola Beach and the tourism here is, no offense to Dothan, Alabama, but those towns alike, but I'm pretty sure we can compete very well against those competition.
And I won't make the TDC do a Haas study if they didn't, but I'm going to support it without it.
Yeah, there was a lot. I don't know if you read all the backup. I know Commissioner Hofberger was part of the lengthy meeting, but there was a lot of support from national organizations that would love to come here. I mean, we're all familiar with folks, and especially if you had a reason to ask, you would know people that are going to Laurel, Mississippi, and other areas to play weekend baseball when they would love to be here.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I believe we have a great community to bring people in, so hopefully it brings in a lot of tourism dollars for our community, and it's a beautiful place for us to be proud of as a commission. So who wants to make the motion on this, or is there any further conversation?
I move the item.
Okay. Commissioner May, it's in your district. Do you want a second, or do you want someone else to help you out?
I'm sick of y'all playing about my district when y'all know all the people from y'all district weren't using the park.
Okay, Commissioner Stroberger, would you like to second? Or
I'll second it.
Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all. All right, Wes, where are we at?
CAR 3, discussion items. Mr. Chairman, I would ask that we move item 2 ahead of item 1, since item
no
1
problem.
seems to be a long discussion.
Okay, is the board, yeah, I'm fine with that, let's do that.
Just for clarification, this is on your discussion agenda solely because we need to memorialize 4 votes. It takes 4 votes to do this, so.
This is hazard mitigation grant buyout program.
Okay, we don't have any speakers, is there a motion to move it forward?
I make a motion, we move forward.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote. Okay, card 2 has voted, passed 5-0. Okay, now we're at, okay, this ought to be a lengthy one. The MSBU, we have several speakers here, probably 15 at least. 19, okay. Let's start with Gus Tyke. Is Gus Tyke in the audience? Tyke, am I saying that right? Titke, maybe? Is it Titke? Okay, we'll go to Gabe DeCiani. Is Gabe here? Okay. All right, this is your chance to talk about the MSBU that we're going to discuss tonight. Okay, I'll move on. Is Jeb Maynard here? Well, we'll find out where we land. Is Jeb Maynard still here? Okay, I'm going to keep pushing on. Is Rhonda Dorfman here? Yes. All right, thanks, Rhonda. Come on up. June Guerrero is on deck.
First of all, I'd like to ask all of our beach residents and beach businesses who have been sitting through this meeting, would you please stand while I read my statement? Thank you. My name is Rhonda Dorfman, and I am president of the Pensacola Beach Advocates. We are a leaseholder and residents organization that represents 200 families, about 400 voters. The Pensacola Beach residents support our fire department. We want everyone in the city to have a professional fire department just like we have on Pensacola Beach. What we don't understand is why the beach residents must pay a higher MSBU than the mainland residents. All good budgets are activity or resource-based. It seems to me that the major cost drivers for firefighting are number of firehouses and their upkeep, number of employees, the distance to serve, cost of materials, and cost of labor. With the county committed to have a firehouse every 5 miles to keep insurance costs for residents at a reasonable level, there is no reason for differentiating the beach residents and fire services from any other fire service in the county. Before you consider an increase in our MSBU to fund the growth needs and the other parts of the county, you need to reduce the MSBU on Pensacola Beach to the same rate that all of the mainland residents receive. It is appalling that the budget is actually even split up between mainland and beach residents. We are all citizens in Escambia County. We are all residents in Escambia County. Furthermore, the inequity and the inequality of the rates you charge beach businesses per square foot versus what mainland businesses is an egregious action. The beach generates so much revenue and income for this county, yet all you want to do is to stick it to the people who live out there and to the businesses who serve out there. Enough is enough. Reduce the beach MSBU so that all residents are paying the same price. Be the responsible county commissioners you want your voters to think you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let's have order, please. June Guerrero, you're up next.
Thank you for having this forum for us. I also want, it's been a long time since I've been a part of commissioner meetings or Island Authority meetings. I was at the beach for 40 years. 40 years. We started year-round business on Pensacola Beach, and we went to the beach in 1980 when no one was open after Labor Day. I want to thank y'all for your service to us citizens of Escambia County. I am June Guerra. I live at 23 Arthur Lane in Pensacola, but I was at the beach for many, many years. And this MSBU is not fair. I'm asking y'all to really consider that The people that live on the beach are citizens of Escambia County. You serve them just the same as you serve the people in Escambia County on the mainland. Think about it, and I want you to also realize that you want to be fair to all of the people in our county. I really was a pioneer on Pensacola Beach. It was very difficult out there. So when this MSBU first hit me on Pensacola Beach, it was over $17,000 for Jubilee Restaurant and Captain Fun. I felt like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I've got to change all my menu prices because that's a large amount of money. You do not make money on Pensacola Beach in your off-season. Pensacola Beach does pay more MSBU than anybody in Escambia County. It should be the same. They pay more fees for taxes to put bands on the beach. This is a community that is serving Pensacola in many, many ways. Your taxes that you're getting from TDC, the tourists, it is supplying many things for Escambia County. Don't mistreat the people on Pensacola Beach. I'm not there anymore. I was there those 40 years, and it was not real easy. But you have that opportunity now to really think how you're coming across and treating these people. Think about the neighborhoods in Pensacola that are not well kept. When there's a storm on Pensacola Beach, those people out there get their businesses cleaned up, they clean their houses, they make it a nice neighborhood. They make it really nice for when our tourists come. It is pleasant, it's an asset. Don't mistreat them. The number one question, I am in business in Pensacola, the number one question that's asked after how much does it cost me to live in your park is, how far are you from the beach? Consider that. The beach is important to Escambia County. Don't mistreat the people out there. They're hardworking. I'm off the beach.
Ms. Guerrero,
Why am I
please
off the
wrap
beach?
up your thoughts.
I'm off the beach because it's hard to live out there. And you have to constantly overcome difficulties. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your comments. We appreciate them. Craig Ferris, if you could come up next. And Jeremy Johnson's on deck. Hey, Jeremy.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Craig Ferris. I'm representing Lagunas on Pensacola Beach, my employer. We're a small, individually owned business, and we've invested significantly in the Pensacola Beach area to bring family-friendly activities to the people that work, live, and vacation here in the Pensacola area. For years, we've grown our revenues, which increases taxes. We're increasing in our support to the county by growing revenue and paying those taxes. And as you know, insurance is higher. The cost of capital is higher. The main thing, labor, is a lot higher. So to add one more thing on top of that, the only thing we control, in our control of all those, is labor, right? So what does that mean? We hire a lot of youth in the summer. We're a summer employer. I've heard a lot of talk about jobs programs and things like that being important. Well, we hire people for the summer. We hire year-round. So we're out there hiring, and that means the more taxes we pay, or the more that this impacts our business, the less people we can hire, the less people we can employ. We're not opposed to the MSBU. What we're opposed to is inequitable increases, right? So the numbers I saw was a 10 times greater increase for Pensacola Beach and a one-time increase for everyone else in the county. 10 times versus one time. So think about that. That's egregious. We asked that the increase is the same percentage for everybody, even though we even pay a little more already. If the percentage increase is the same, then that would, I think, would be fair and equitable, and that's our main concern that we'd like you to hear tonight. 10 times.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate you coming down. Jeremy Johnson, you're up, and Stephanie Powell's on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Jeremy Johnson, Chairman and elected member of the Santa Rosa Island Authority Board. I'm here to express my concern about the proposed MSBU increase for fire protection services, specifically the disproportionate burden placed on Pensacola Beach. We are all citizens of Escambia County, and as such should shoulder the responsibility equally. I support our first responders, and the MSBU rate should be the same countywide. We're not asking to avoid responsibility, we're asking for a balance. I urge the board to consider how this burden is shared and ensure that any increase is distributed fairly across all benefited areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Stephanie Powell and Arthur Leary's on deck.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Powell. A more than 1,000% increase in MSBU on Pensacola Beach would present devastating impacts on Pensacola Beach businesses. I work on Pensacola Beach as the marketing director for Premier Island Management Group. Several businesses managed by Premier would be directly impacted by this increase. Several of these businesses have representatives here this evening. These businesses would be forced to pass the majority of this burden on to their customers and cut their marketing budgets. A loss of revenue and added expenses would certainly impact their ability to compete with other local businesses, keep their staff employed, and reach new customers. The reality is most certain that many businesses will be forced to close. I do not oppose an increase, but I believe that the increase should be equal to what is being assessed inland. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and I appreciate your comments. Arthur Leary's up, and then Steve Lupert is on deck.
Thank you, Arthur Leary. And glad to be here. I won't take up a lot of time, but just to add to what's already been said, I just think that this, not against the increase, not against supporting the firefighters. We need to have all that, but this increase, it should be equitable, and I think to do anything otherwise is just unconscionable. And I urge you to reconsider it to make it equitable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arthur. Steve Lupert, are you here? Okay, thank you. And Christine Cook's on deck.
Good evening. I'm Steve Lupert. I'm a resident of Pensacola Beach, 806 Rio Vista Drive, and I'm going to read to you here. I live in a low-density, single-family dwelling residential neighborhood on Pensacola Beach. I wanted to be clear up front that I'm not against an increase to support emergency services. I understand the value of those services, and I support funding them properly, but that increase must be fair to all taxpayers across Escambia County. Right now, residential properties on Pensacola Beach, many owned by LLCs, are being used as full-time short-term rental businesses. These are not occasional vacation homes. They are commercial properties generating significant revenue, using residential infrastructure and services and paying residential rates. If you're operating a business, especially one that generates income from lodging, you should be paying the commercial rate. I believe that's how it works in the rest of the county, and it should work the same way on Pensacola Beach. The current system gives a financial advantage to commercial operations masking as residential homes, and that's not fair to the residents or to the rest of the county. This imbalance means residents, like me, are being asked to carry the same MSBU burden as the businesses which place far greater demands on public services. That's not sustainable, and frankly, it's not responsible governing. Meanwhile, the leases that are intended to be regulated, the property needs to regulate use, I'm getting off track here, on the island, are not being enforced. Oversight is lacking. The Santa Rosa Island Authority and the county must do more to uphold those agreements. The system is being abused, and the county is losing revenue because of it. So, asking businesses and residents to pay more make sure everyone is paying their fair share, and that includes commercial operations currently hiding behind residential leases. I also wanted to thank the local fire department out at Station 13 on Pensacola Beach on Easter weekend. They gave a tour to my granddaughter, and it was pretty good. She enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it too. Those folks do a good job out there, and I hope you have it in your budget, because the last thing that she asked that fireman was to come to her birthday party, and she lives in New Orleans, and they said yes. So I hope you have that in your budget to attend her birthday party.
Well, thank you very much. Christine Cook and Ryan Frazie's on deck.
I'm Christine Cook, and I'm a resident on Pensacola Beach, and I want to say that I am not opposed to an increase, and I strongly support our firefighters on the beach. They've come to my assistance with my sick husband many times, and they're fabulous. But I think that the disparity in the rate increases are prejudicial and unfair. And it was earlier mentioned by some of the commissioners how we're all one county, and we're all Escambia County residents, and we all deserve to be treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ryan Frazee, and then Marcia Chenard's on deck.
Hi, my name is Ryan Frazee, and I operate Radical Rides, a water sport business on Pensacola Beach. Thank you guys for the opportunity to speak to you today about the proposed MSBU increase and how it may affect a small business like the one I operate. Running a water sports business is a high-risk, high-overhead operation. We spend a lot of money into boats, jet skis, safety equipment, and staffing. It's a high-capital business. And that just meets the baseline expectations for safety and service. On top of that, we're facing a sharp rise in insurance premiums year after year, especially in a hurricane-prone region like ours. These costs aren't optional. They're required for us to operate safely and legally. As far as the MSBU increase, I am a firm supporter of Escambia Fire Department. I work very closely with a lot of these guys with water safety. We ran drills with them this morning in Pensacola Pass, doing multiple trainings. So I do support the, excuse me, the increase. We just want you to revisit it and look at it to be more proportional, because operating a business with a line item increase of 1,000% is just not an option. So for me to keep doing something that I'm passionate about doing and creating memorable experiences for many of the vacationers here on Pensacola Beach, operating water sports were one of the highlights for many people. We want to be able to afford it and be able to keep offering those services. So we ask you to revisit that and look at something that's going to be sustainable amongst small businesses and the Escambia Fire budget. Thanks.
Thank you. Marcia Chenard, you're next, and then Mike Pizzone, you're on deck.
Hi, I'm Marcia Chenard. I operate a small women's and men's boutique called Envy on the boardwalk in Pensacola Beach. I've been there since 2011. Every year, the profit margins get a little thinner. The cost of doing business gets a little steeper. I don't oppose the tax. I certainly support the firefighters. But I would ask that you consider being more, that we would pay the same type increase that any other part of Escambia County would pay, that we would not be singled out. I do think paying 1,058% increase, that's not something that we can pass on to our customers. That's something we have to absorb. It's going to cost jobs. I mean, I employ probably 6 or 7 high school and college girls to work during season. We have 2 full-time employees and myself. So it could impact all of our jobs. We could lose our jobs. We may have to close the store. If we're not profitable, we won't be in business. And on the boardwalk, there's many small businesses that are owned by individuals. And I just hope that you will consider that and know that I've been there for a long time. 2011 was a long time ago. So just you know, I love my job. I love Pensacola Beach, but at some point, if you can't make money, then you won't stay in business. So I would ask that you consider the tax being more equitable for the beach as it is for other areas of Escambia County. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Marcia. Appreciate your comments. Michael Penzone and Reed Kessler's on deck.
Thank you so much, guys. Listen, the more I come here, the more I feel that you guys are very reasonable, very heartfelt stories that I've heard. I think that you're very reasonable men and women. And the idea is basically this. I've been on Pensacola Beach almost 3 decades. I've worked at Papa's Pizza. We've built a business. We built our family there. We built our life there. My wife's working right now a 14-hour shift as I speak. The thing is we bring $2 billion. $2 billion. Tourism brings $2 billion to this community. And it's spread out between all you guys. All you guys get part of this money for your districts. And you need it, right? Any given weekend, do you know that there's 50 people that have been pulled out of the Gulf, saved, rescued from drowning? Any given weekend, 50 people. Most of these are kids. Can you imagine if we didn't do that? Don't we feel like this is our community and we should do that? Don't you think that that's something that has to be done? We wouldn't have tourism if we didn't do that. Next year, nobody would come. If we lost 50 kids in the Gulf on one weekend, nobody would come back to the Pensacola Beach. It would be over for all of us. So what I'm saying is basically safety is the most important thing. Everybody's got neighborhoods that have problems. Everybody knows that. And safety is the most important thing. But you have to be reasonable. We're paying property taxes now when used to we didn't. It was MSBU taxes and fees, Island Authority fees. Well, now we're paying property taxes as well. And so to punish us for working 12, 14-hour days trying to build a community and give us all the burden is not fair. It's not reasonable. It's not sustainable. Like some of these other people said, our businesses can't take it. I've been there almost 3 decades. I've been through hurricanes, oil spills. I've been shut down 19 months while the beach was being rebuilt. Barely survived it. And I know for sure if I don't get up and I speak about this, I know if you give us this increase, I know it's going to put me out of business. And it's not going to just put me out of business, it's going to put, there's 8,000 people that work on Pensacola Beach every year, 8,000 people. Do you know that? And half of those people are probably part-timers. And if they're part-timers, then most of them are probably paying for their college. So our community is all in one. And we have a natural resource that people come here for it. Besides the military and the beach, there's no other reason to come here, pretty much. And so to punish us for trying to build our community and all our communities. And do you also know that I Googled
Michael,
it just because I was curious.
So you can
I
finalize your
Googled it
thoughts.
to find out that there was 3,000 short-term rentals in Gulf Breeze and over 5,000 short-term rentals in Pensacola. That's Airbnbs, right?
Michael, you got to wrap it up.
Okay.
I appreciate
but
your comments.
I just want y'all to reconsider and look at things as a reasonable people.
We thank you for your comments. Ray Kessler, please come up. And Sharon Reagan, I didn't see Sharon. Is Sharon still here? Okay, she's on deck. Okay, then Charlie Rottenberry, Ray, you're up.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ray Kessler. I am Chairman of the Board for the Pensacola Beach Chamber of Commerce, and I'm speaking today on behalf of 300 businesses we represent. We are deeply concerned about the proposed fire MSBU rate increase for Pensacola Beach from 7 cents to 83 cents per square foot, which is a 1,058% jump. And for many businesses, this would take their assessment from under $1,000 a year to more than $11,000 a year. And that's not just an increase, that's a breaking point. Pensacola Beach already operates under uniquely high cost, insurance premiums, building code compliance, weather vulnerabilities, and seasonal revenue swings. This proposal adds another crushing layer, and it doesn't just threaten profit margins, it threatens survival. For some, this could mean layoffs. For others, it may mean cutting back on food quality, hours, or service. And for too many, it may mean closing their doors altogether. There's a real and dangerous irony here. This county values Pensacola Beach for its beauty, for its tourism, and for its contribution to the local economy. But the very businesses that keep that image alive, our restaurants, shops, hotels, attractions, are now being priced out of existence. You cannot promote a world-class beach experience while forcing out the businesses that make it one. This is not how we protect a pristine, welcoming beach community, and it's not fair or sustainable, a sustainable way to fund the essential services we need. We do fully support fire safety and emergency responses, but we ask that this proposal be reevaluated with equity, sustainability, and the economic health of the island in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think Sharon left. I heard Charlie Rottenberry, and Beverly Campbell's up after Charlie.
Charlie Rottenberry here.
Sorry, sir.
Born and raised around Pensacola Beach. Spent a lot of time there. I'm a realtor on the beach and earn a lot of my income there. And I will, I don't have anything more to say that you haven't already heard, except that the beaches are your cash cow. And many, many, many times we feel like a stepchild that you guys just don't even love. And you're really showing that you don't love us on this. The way you kill the golden goose on the beach is you mess with the tourism, the tourist business. Our beach is a brutal beach to live on during the winter for the businesses. We are your business. Because the tourism, it doesn't take care of the overhead that the businesses have. So I would ask that you do something that's going to make sense to everybody, and everybody in Escambia County enjoys our beach too. So we should all pay the same amount. What you're trying to do to the businesses now, you know, they have a hard time enough. I asked about how you're going to earmark this, so that we can look in the budget and see how we're accounting for our money. In case you haven't noticed, in Washington, we're starting to want to account for everything. I was told that we don't even have an accounting for a line item for the employees of the fire station. I'd like to see accounting. That may not be true, but I'd like to see accounting that me as a citizen can look at and see a line item out of whack. And you guys just need to leave us alone on the beach. Enjoy the money that we send you.
Thank you, Charlie. I think if you stick around, we'll have some discussions on line items that would, if you're interested. Beverly Campbell, are you up?
Hi, I'm Beverly Campbell. I live on the beach with my husband at 232 Sabine Drive. We own the Sand Shaker on Pensacola Beach, which you may or may not know of.
I
It's
do.
been there.
Is that Sunny back there?
Yeah,
Does he
yes.
still dance on that bar?
But we just celebrated our 50th year anniversary for the Sand Shaker. Very proud of that. We've owned the Sand Shaker for a little over 20 years, so we bought it after Hurricane Ivan and did a lot of work to bring it back, so we're very proud of that. We have a great business there. We have a lot of locals. We have a lot of tourists. We've worked really hard to make it a fun place to be, a lot of good entertainment. When I first looked at the information on the increase, you know, we're not opposed to increases. We see them all the time, especially out there with insurance and maintenance and all kinds of things. But the thing that really caught my attention was the difference between the beach and the mainland. And so being a bar, I'm thinking, well, gee, I'm paying a lot more than my friend Buck Mitchell, who owns Seville. So, how can that be? So I just, would like you to take another look at the percentage, which for us it ends up being like over 100%. I'm sorry, 1,000% more. And for whatever reason, the bars over in town didn't have that much of an increase. So that's really the part that I don't understand. I am a CPA. I've worked in that industry for a long time until we bought the bar. So when I look at the numbers, I do try to look at it and try to make some sense of it, but I just couldn't wrap my arms around why the beach was so much higher than, in Pensacola, the mainland. So, I just ask you to take a look at that. I know your job is very difficult. I appreciate everything you do for us. We're part of the county. I agree with what has been said tonight, and we appreciate all your help, and hopefully you take another look and so do something that's a little more reasonable for the beach people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Tom Jardine, is Tom here? Hey, Tom. And Eric Sharplin's on deck. Eric's in the back. Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
All right, Tom Jardine. I've been on the beach for 30 years now. And it's great to see how, our turnout is really fantastic. I didn't know there was that many of us still on the beach. There's still a lot of Airbnbs nowadays. But I think a lot of our problems are we're too stoic on the beach. We put up with a lot of nonsense. I don't know if people know the history of the beach, but initially that island was thought to be worthless. And we lured people on that beach for decades with no tax-free living out on the beach. And then we added a tax for the houses, and then we added a tax for the land, and we pay it without hardly a complaint. And I watched, you guys probably, if you know me, I watch these meetings. And I repeatedly hear some of these commissioners bad-mouthing the leaseholders. I mean, literally bad-mouthing the leaseholders. When we were talking about this rate increase, it wasn't justified due to higher costs on the beach. It wasn't justified for greater, expanded services on the beach. The justification of the rate increase was that we are paying for sand replenishment of the public beaches. That's an inscrutable rationale for a rate increase for fire. And I see an underlying animosity from some of our county commissioners for leaseholders. Mr. Berry's smiling. I hear things like the Bible says that we shouldn't be building on the barrier island. And you commissioners keep building on the barrier island. You commissioners are the ones who championed the tax policy on Pensacola Beach. Mr. Berry's been in the Citizens Chair for 12 years now, and he makes tax policy. And his tax policy, the result is that we're losing $10 million every year from ad valorem taxes on Pensacola Beach due to Mr. Berry's tax policy. But somehow, he continues to scapegoat the leaseholders. I don't make tax policy, Mr. Berry. You make tax policy. So the extra money for that rate increase is really, to me, a small issue. I've fed up with being maligned and scapegoated for your tax policy, Mr. Berry. In my opinion, you misappropriated a $3.355 million FEMA grant on 25 March 2021. Let's have an end to your irresponsible rhetoric, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom. Eric Sharplin, you're up next.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to stay on this tax policy. I know that everybody's screaming for equalization, but it sounds like to me you're buying a pie. You're giving the other side 25% and saying, I'm taking 75, and you got to pay for it? How is that fair? Mr. Barry over here, he's got the largest land district. He will never see the fire services that the beaches got. So I just don't see where it's fair to be making the other districts pay the equal amount when they're not getting the services. And I don't know whose cell phone this is. Somebody left it up there. But
That was very nice, Eric.
yeah, and it's like right now, I'm paying $50 a month for UBurst. I'm getting 50 megabytes a month. Other people are getting 300 megs, paying $55 a month, and I've already filed a complaint for the PSC Service Commission about that. Why won't they run a fiber over in Mayfair, but they're still copper? So I just think that, you know, those who get the most services should be the ones paying just a little bit more. Maybe the other districts could pay a little bit more, but I don't think they should be on the same rate, because some of these districts like McDavid, where you're at out there, they probably won't ever see the fire protection that the other parts of the county is going to see. And I just think we should be very careful, because it's always nice when you have a stacked deck down here, and maybe we should hold a hearing to let other people from the county come in and give their side on it before we make this type of big decision. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Eric. Board, that concludes our speakers. I guess we'll move into discussion if there's any discussion. If there's no discussion, I can't believe that. Okay, I'll start off. So, oh boy, here we go. I have a lot of friends on the beach. I think the business side probably is getting a little taxed a little bit much. But when you say equity, I think I need to put some numbers out there for everyone, okay? The SRA pays $17,000 a month for the beach. That comes out to about $206,000. With your current MSBU, you bring in, let's just say $1 million, maybe a little bit more. The beach operation costs $2.3 million out there. Unlike other areas of the community, you have a paramedic. A lot of places don't. You have a hospital across the bridge that has, you got better health care than a lot of areas of the county, especially in the rural parts, or even out by where Commissioner Hofberger, what am I saying, Commissioner Stroberger and myself have. I hear the unfairness, but the county is currently paying $1.3 million to subsidize beach services on the beach. That's where we're at. It's just a fact. The current rate for residential would go to $1.20 a day. And when you say equity as a nurse, being with hundreds of people when they died in the emergency room and in the ICU, there's no amount of money. When you're dying, you have one wish, to stay alive. One of the ladies said that her family had basically been utilized that service before. Time to treat, if I knew that I could have a firefighter at my house within 5 minutes, I'd pay a little bit more. What would happen to the businesses, I agree, I think that's too high. But I still think we should shoot for trying to be equitable across the board. So I sat down with Mr. Burns last week, because I don't think he knew the deficit of just that beach firehouse cost the county. And he committed to me, and I know Jeremy, you're on the board, that he was going to bring it up to the next board to look at some options outside of what the board may do with the MSBU, which I applaud him for doing that. I think there's some things there that we could look at. I heard what everyone said, and I agree with some of it. But I also know from my standpoint, I know I'd pay for a higher service if I knew I could have a firefighter that could maybe save my wife's life within 5 minutes. I would be willing to pay $1.20 a day. And a lot of people, I mean, that may seem like a lot for residential, but to me it'd be worth every doggone penny. But that's my take. I don't know where the board's going to go, but I hope we can get to a resolution where the residents feel that it's fair. And I don't know, I think the commercial rates are probably too high. I agree with that. I don't think that's fair to the business owners. But I think I think you should know that you're not even able to fund your fire department with the MSBU and what Santa Rosa Island Authority puts into it. You're $1.3 million short a year. That's a big deficit. So anyways, Commissioner Berry?
I'm happy to have Commissioner Hofberger speak, and then I'll speak after her, since her light's on.
Thank you. So,
Sorry.
right before the meeting, we were handed a spreadsheet with a 10-year deficit on what the county has been subsidizing the beach. It's just over $3 million. What we were not handed was a spreadsheet on how much the county has been subsidizing the mainland fire department, which is about $10 million a year.
That's true.
So I'm not sure how this is relevant or why we were not provided both documents. For everyone who thinks the beach receives a superior service, I encourage you to ask what the response time would be from the mainland if they had to call in a second fire engine. And then I would encourage you to look at the fires that happen in your districts and in your communities and ask, how long does it take the second station to get there? And I don't think that you're going to be able to prove that the beach is receiving superior service from the Escambia County professional firefighters.
Wow. Commissioner Berry, I guess we'll just go down the line. Commissioner Berry, do you want to go next?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So, yeah, I mean, we are having to subsidize the mainland, considerably as well. The big change when you look at the spreadsheet that's not necessarily, articulated on here. When Commissioner Bender was on the board, we added a second crew out there, and we never changed. We never asked for any more money from the Island Authority, nor did we change any funding methods, on the within the county budget to cover that additional crew that we put out there, and that's the board's mistake. Or a combination of the board's and the Island Authority's mistake, perhaps. But regardless, that's what happened. As I mentioned last time, fairness is not necessarily equal. There is a higher level of service on the beach, and but that being said, MSBU's by nature are a regressive tax. It's just the analytical, the math part of it. When you have any kind of assessment that is the same, whether the property is a $100,000 property or a $500,000 property, that represents a regressive tax, and it has more of an impact on a lower value property or a lower socioeconomic area than a higher socioeconomic area. So the fact that the MSBU for the residential on the island has been higher, I don't know that I know there were some speakers that mentioned that everything should be the same. But I don't know that if there was a lot of genuine sentiment, I don't know that many would disagree with the way that it has been, where it has been higher on the island than it has been on the mainland. Because I think generally most residents would accept that they do have a higher level of service than most areas in the county. But that's related to the residential. Mike, I'm going to agree. I agree with what you said. The impact on the commercial side is tremendous, and I think that's what's going to take. You mentioned having a conversation with Executive Director Burns, and they have a board meeting, I believe, on the 14th, and then we're together, the next day. But I do expect that we're probably going to, have some degree of increased partnership from our agent, which is, Commissioner Hofberger gets tasked with representing that area, but in truth, it's also the only area that the county has an agent to represent the area that we all have representation on. So the Island Authority is our agent for the island, and I think they're going to meet, and I think that there's going to be some substantive and I would suspect genuine conversation there about how to mitigate the increases that may be being looked at to subsidize that side of the equation. I'm very optimistic about that. So I'm going to, kind of move forward in the anticipation that something that we're going to get positive news out of him and out of the board. And I know Mr. Johnson's in the audience, but I think we will get. I think we're going to get some good news out of them to help with the other side of this equation. But especially the commercial side, we've going from 7 cents to to 83 cents a square foot is obviously a substantial increase, and that's that is a that is a difficult it's a difficult dynamic to budget, and I certainly do understand that, and I think that's the primary pause. That's the primary pause that I would have in moving forward, and hopefully we're going to get some good news there, and something that will bring everything down on the island some, while it may not end up equal. I think it can be much more fair.
I would agree with that. Commissioner May.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Hopper. I'm always sensitive to issues as it affects those constituents, so I certainly have a deep empathy, sympathy for representing. I always say either you're going to reduce resources or reduce revenue. You wanted added resources, you got to have added revenue. I mean, we talked about creating firehouses today, and we need extra income, but I certainly recognize equity and fairness. I think Commissioner Kohler and I will probably be faced with something similar, and that's why I always believe when you begin to have a tax like this, that we can't rush into it. I mean, it has to be the town hall meetings, it has to be communication with the constituents, because I can assure you, if we do a blanket tax on next week, and what you represent a portion of it, I represent people in the city of Pensacola that we're taking a blanket tax, that we don't even provide fire tax for, we don't provide any. We don't provide many of the other resources. I have people who pay the millage rate for the county, they pay the city millage, and they pay DIB. I mean, because they live in the DIB. So where's the fairness in that? I mean, and so I think that this needs to be, thought out. We can't rush into it. We got to hear from all parties concerned. As you said, you just got a spreadsheet. I mean, you can't make a decision and get in a spreadsheet 30, 40 minutes ahead of time. I mean, but we got to be thoughtful to all of our citizens, the beach residents, which I'm sympathetic to, but I'm also sympathetic to the people who live right down here on Palafox Street that pay extra millage to be a part of the DIB. I live very close to downtown, and I pay downtown taxes and I pay county taxes, and tax after tax, and some of those I receive services for, some of those I don't receive services, but to have a blanket tax, I mean, that's going to be a challenge. I think that we can get there. I don't think we're nearly ready to get there tonight. I mean, I think it just needs to be more dialogue and to be, sympathetic to, our largest public park, which is the beach. But also, people pay, a DIB tax, which is our downtown, which is another tourist attraction, which is a jewel, that people also pay those taxes to. So for me, as we look at how we build fire stations, how are we going to tax, what are we going to do with the millage? I mean, all of us have been tasked probably next week. People will be asking for us to put forth a housing trust. They want to add another tax for the children's trust. I mean, just Pensacola wants to add another tax and another tax, and no one wants to be taxed, but everybody wants to get the services. I mean, so it's a delicate balance, and I think in a good negotiation, in which it is a negotiation among the citizens, the staff, and we as policymakers, no one gets everything that they want, but it has to be a fair compromise. So I look forward to getting more information, doing more evaluations, and figuring out what's fair to the residents of the beach, but also what's fair to the residents of downtown Pensacola, as well as every other district that I represent, from a CRA to a DIB, to someone who lives within the boundaries of the city, and figure out exactly how can we get as close to equity as we can possibly get. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner May. Commissioner Strawberry.
The problem with these discussions is we all have good points. We're all making good points. It needs to be equitable, but I also believe that there is a higher level of service out at the beach. And we do run a deficit out at the beach of I don't know, my numbers say 1.2 million. In my district, District 1, there are folks out there that haven't had a firehouse in 7 years. The closest one is 10 miles away. And their insurance rates are really high, 350% higher than they were 7 years ago. And their MSBU is the same one that I pay. And I've said I live 3 miles away from one. So I'm experiencing a high level too, just by proximity, you know, because we're where I live. And they're paying the same MSBU I'm paying. I didn't hear anyone tonight say that they oppose an increase in the MSBU, and nobody here said that they don't support firefighters, so I think that's good. We all do that. I also today talked to Mike Burns, and I've been doing some startup math. Turns out he's been doing the same math as I've been doing. And I think that we can, and I think this is what you were alluding to too, Commissioner Kohler, is that we can put some of this burden on hotel stays. And talking to Mike, he thinks that we could probably get the board at the Santa Rosa Island Authority to approve something like this. $2 or $3 more a night. I guess, you know, the average stay is $375 a night. During the high season, it's $800 a night. And if you tack $2 or $3 to that, I don't know if you're gonna. What did I say? Did I say something wrong?
No, I just thought, that's a mortgage payment.
Yeah, well, but yeah, so but the point is, I don't think someone who's willing to spend that kind of money to stay at the beach, to enjoy being at Pensacola Beach, probably is not going to say, I'm going to stay in Crestview instead. You know, they'll pay the extra $2 or $3. So I think there is more to follow on this, and I think it's going to, just the math that I was doing based, and is Stefan here?
He's in the back.
Yeah.
Do you want
I
to
ran
come
this
up?
through by Stefan, and we'd be able to reduce the commercial rate by almost 20 cents. Is that right, Stefan? Don't keep hiding back there. I can see you.
You don't want to get any arrows from the back. Come on, Stefan.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, so we are looking at some other options to provide some additional funding to basically subsidize or pay down the increase of the MSB for the beach residences. It looks very promising at this time. I know working with our partners with the Island Authority, you know, I think we need a little bit more time to work through that and ensure that this is a good path forward, but it definitely sounds very promising.
Thank you, Stefan.
Yes, sir.
And Steve, and that's what I agree with Stephen. I'm glad he said that. It has to be thought out, and we need more time. I mean, you can't. This is going to impact lives, and you know, although we need money for fire, but we have to take time to make sure we get it right. I can just tell you, if you live downtown Pensacola, I mean, you're paying 6 points millage rate higher. I guarantee your millage rate, you know, downtown Pensacola is higher than on the beach. And so we got to be very cautious as we move forward to all of our residents.
Well, I'm on the DIB and I hear it loud and clear too. So I mean,
yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
you're paying almost 6.2% on top of what every other county resident is paying to live in the city. And when, quite frankly, it's not just affordable housing. I mean, God bless those who can afford $800 a night. But I'm seeing people in my district that grandmother left them a house, and because of the appreciation in the high millage rate, that they're losing their homes due to taxes. I mean, every week, every month, there are tax certificates being sold. So we just got to be cognitive of whatever decision we make, and we're not going to please everyone. But this is not a knee-jerk. This is something that's going to definitely impact lives. Some people just don't want their taxes to go up, and they can't afford it. Some people, when their taxes go up, they lose their home. And so that's why it's important to think this out. And that's why I'm not going to make a quick decision because we don't want people losing their homes. Our affordable housing program is not affordable mainly due to taxes and interest rates. I mean, we can't. We just give those houses a habitat. People cannot go into those homes. I mean, I'm talking about people who work for us that make $50,000 a year between insurance and taxes. There's no such thing as affordable housing. So we got to be very, I mean, it's great to be able to put the fire out, but if they never have a home, they'll never have a fire to put out. And so that's just, Steve, I agree with you. If we can pass it on, or if we can figure out a way that's equitable. I mean, I think Commissioner Berry said it'll never be fair because it's not fair to everybody because everybody didn't have the same level of income, everybody didn't have the same level of resources. But if we can bring it to as equitable as we possibly can, I think that's smart. But I certainly think we should take our time and do the proper analysis before we do it. I mean, we discussed MSBU, MSTUs. We talked about, fire taxes on the beach. We've talked about, additional taxes here. But we really want to think that out because I can assure you, the downtown businesses will fill this place up just as quick as any other group as soon as we assess those taxes or talk about assessing taxes to them.
Thank you, Commissioner Ray. Commissioner Hofberger, do you have a comment?
I do. It is absolutely true. There are areas in Escambia County on the mainland that are too far from a fire department. And your citizens have been dealing with that for over 7 years. This morning, I think we made huge strides in moving forward with that. With that being said, one of the legal requirements for an MSBU that is higher than the mainland is that the burden is on the county to prove that they receive a service over and beyond what people in Escambia County receive. Most people in Escambia County live within 5 miles of a fire station, so they are receiving the exact same service that the people on the beach are receiving. So everyone keeps saying they receive a superior service. That station covers a 4-mile radius. The last major fire that Portofino experienced, it took 25 minutes for someone to respond because this fire department was already on a call and we had to pull in other crews. So I would like someone to explain to this group what service that they're receiving that people who live within a 5-mile radius of a fire department on the mainland are not receiving.
I'll help with that. So, like I said, as a 10-year ER and ICU nurse, there's nothing more important than time to treat. The beach has a paramedic. If you have respiratory failure, if you have anaphylactic shock, if you have any of those things that require intubation immediately, there's very few firehouses in the county that have a paramedic. I agree with you. Last weekend we saved 9 people out of the Gulf. We have to do that. But that is above and beyond the majority of the firehouses in the county. And the tourists, I get it. Hey, we're going to have order here because I agree with you. And that's why there's things. But it's just not true that there's not a higher level of service. That's just not the case. I mean, if you could have a paramedic come to your house instead of an EMT, and you're dying or your loved one's dying, you get a higher level of care. That's just basic medicine.
The people in Molino have that, and so do the people in Perdido Key.
Beach Haven, I don't know, a lot of the firehouses that I have paramedics, and as they said this morning, very few do. But that's not my issue. My issue is I agree that commercial taxes are too high. I didn't know Commissioner Strohberger was going to let the cat out of the bag, because I do think Santa Rosa Island Authority can maybe have a huge part in resolving this for the homeowners as well as the commercial businesses out there. But it's irresponsible if this board doesn't take an action. There hasn't been a raise in the MSBU since 2003 on the beach, in 2015 in the county. There's no way we can continue to fund fire services across the county with 334,000 people living in the county now, which is 100,000 more than were here before. We have to take some action. Now, whatever that action is, I definitely want to respect the people on the beach and try to get to the right solution for everyone. I think we all want that. I'm absolutely opposed to an MSTU. If we were to do it based on your property value, I can assure you it'd be a lot higher than $440. And everyone should look at that. The people in District 2 couldn't afford that. They just could not afford an MSTU. It wouldn't even be reasonable. A lot of counties in the United States use an MSTU. You know why? Because they don't have to do this every year or every 10 years because it's a progressive tax. But we have to do something. I'm not in favor of an MSTU. But it's unfortunate that, this board has to deal with something that obviously probably should have been taken care of a while ago. But I will say this. I appreciate everyone that came from the beach. And most folks out at the beach were businesses, and I totally agree with them. But what I didn't see, and I think is important, there wasn't one person from District 2, District 3, District 1, or District 5. And all those taxes are going to go up too, and they subsidize a lot of the county's firehouses. And it's going to hurt me. I can tell you that some of the poor communities I represent, it's going to hurt. Like what Commissioner May said, some may lose their house. They may lose their house. How many people are going to lose their house in this audience tonight if it goes up $150 or $180? Okay, on commercial? Okay, well, I respect that, sir. I respect that. Well, I agree with the commercial tax is way too high. But I just think that we need to get to a happy medium where everyone feels like they get a fair service for the price.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I think that, as you just said, for all 5 districts, and thank all those who are in the audience. I mean, we should be doing town hall and information meetings and analysis throughout the entire county, explain to people what it is. Because if you're right, if you want to give me a blanket MSTU for all of my district, and I'm representing somebody that already pays a fire tax within the city, a city resident pays a fire tax already. Now we're going to blanket raise their taxes, and they're paying DIB. Then they're paying a 6.2 higher millage rate than everybody else in the county. I mean, you're almost talking double taxation, and you're taxing people. They're paying double services. If you're saying that you're paying for your fire, and if I live in the city, Commissioner Holzberg live in the city, we're paying a fire tax, period. And so now you're going to blanket for me to pay another tax to enhance fire. I mean, that's going to be a challenge. It's certainly going to be a challenge for me to support it. I mean, because I have to be fair to the constituents that I represent as well. And so I agree with you and what you've just said, but I think that it has to be more information. And we may not get there as quick as we want to get there. I mean, because we have to make sure that not just, any district out of the 5 has any preferential treatment, that it's all as fair as we can possibly get it. And I can just tell you right now, looking at it, to do a blanket tax for all citizens in the city and the county and downtown, I mean, that's going to be tough. But if we do it, we got to just do it for everybody. And so I get what you're saying.
Commissioner, if I can help with that. So this is only in the unincorporated area.
Okay.
It is not, we don't have the authority to do that in the city.
Okay.
So just to clarify that.
Well, thank you. I
just
appreciate
to
that.
help out a little bit. Thank you.
Well, I think at this point, obviously, the board doesn't feel comfortable, and I agree with the board not to make a decision until we see what Santa Rosa Island Authority comes up with. I think that would be the responsible decision. But I do think that I know for me, if we look at the budget, we cannot continue to run millions of dollars deficit in the fire assessment across Escambia County. We just can't do it. It would be irresponsible if we didn't come to the taxpayers and explain the problem. I appreciate the beach people being the most vocal about it, and I listened and I hear what you're saying, and I respect it. But my suggestion would be, and I don't know, I think the board's in there, is to see what Santa Rosa Island Authority comes up with, and hopefully, Jeremy, you're on the board, you can guide that in a way that maybe the residents that you represent out there can feel confident that it's a fair decision, and maybe we can get to a regular MSBU for everyone and then do something with the hotels or something. I don't know what your board's going to decide, but I hope you come back with something to at least offset some of the costs that's being taken out of the MSBU across the county. And I know it's not actually just what Commissioner Hofberger said, because we're running a $10 million deficit as it is across the county. So it's a problem everywhere. It's not just on the beach. I don't have anything else, Commissioner Hofberger?
I do. So a few of us campaigned on reducing the number of lawsuits for the county. So with that, I want to really make sure that if you guys are considering moving forward with a uneven MSBU, that you really look at what benefits you believe the beach is getting over the mainland, because no one has provided those. So I want to put that out there. I want to make sure everybody's aware. I do foresee that being an issue. I've had several people tell me that already. So just passing on the information I have been provided by the businesses and the constituents on the beach.
Okay, if there's not any further comments, I don't think we're ready to make a decision tonight. Is the board willing to see what SRA does on the 14th and bring it back on the 15th? Is that reasonable? Well, here's the, we only have one meeting in June. Hey, is there a timeline on this for us? That's what I need to know, because I thought originally there was, and if there's not, it's not a big deal. But Allison, can you respond to that?
So in my opinion, if we're doing anything that involves any MSTU, you absolutely would need to have that finalized before July 1st.
I don't think anyone on this board has an appetite for an MSTU, so forget that.
The way it is currently being thought of is that we would be adjusting the 2 rate resolutions, and I would recommend that you schedule public hearing to address each of those 2 rate resolutions, preferably, I would say, before you go into your budget workshops, because it's a major stressor for not just your budget office for preparing the budget for the next fiscal year, but the SRIA actually has its own special act legal obligation for when its budget is due to you all. And they're going to need to know what impact they're dealing with. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you're
Allison,
trying-
would it be against the law or against protocol if they were different
The
town
mere-
hall meetings in
no.
which Stephen and staff and the commissioner could go out and explain the options to the citizens? I mean, before we come to
So,
another meeting?
in MSBU, there must be a direct nexus between the benefit to the real estate and the amount that that particular property owner is being charged. So based on that, it is possible that you have a formula where things are different. And in fact, they currently are different on the beach than the mainland, as I understand it. So, I mean, in fact, the mainland MSBU was amended in like 2016. The beach MSBU hasn't been amended since 2003. So there already have been some differentials, but the nexus is the most important thing.
All right.
That's the most
So you
important
can.
thing.
You have another.
So they can be somewhat different, but you have to have.
No, I was just saying, I mean, we could go out and have a town hall where you and Stephen and Wes was there explaining it to the citizens. So people in the north
You-
end would understand it as well as the people in the
You
west
certainly
end.
have the right. I just think you have a practical issue if you're trying to do it for this upcoming fiscal year.
Well, we're trying to do it right, and we're trying to inform citizens, so they won't-
Absolutely,
I
it
mean, you
needs
can't
to be
raise
right no
taxes
matter
without
when
taking
you
it
do
to
it.
the, I mean, we should
Well-
take it to the people instead of making the people come to us.
I'm not holding us hard and fast, but we can put it as a placeholder on the 15th just to see, and then we'd have the meeting in June. And if it didn't work, it falls apart, right? And then we'll have to come up with a different budget process. But I just want the people from the beach to know, I'd like to have one MSBU and SRA to come up with some sort of supplement to support the firehouse on the beach. That would be the best solution for me.
And
To
Mike, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I mean, it's just gonna be hard to inform citizens by the 15th. I mean, we got things tonight that we didn't know about. I mean, and that's, I mean, even if we brought it forth, I mean, and did something on the 15th, I mean, the next meeting in June, you know, there won't be a place to sit because people will feel as we imposed something if we didn't at least take it to them to properly educate people for what we're doing. I'm not saying they can, you know, influence your decision. I think it's in fairness, people should be, you know, informed.
Mike,
Commissioner Berry?
I think you've got a good idea. Let's put a placeholder on there for the 15th and see how the 14th goes.
And then and I agree, Commissioner May, if it doesn't go well, but this came up in '21, the board couldn't get to a decision. We're now 4 years later, and we keep running deficits. And I mean, these are why you sit in these seats, man. These are tough jobs, man.
Oh, well, we're going to
And-
make a decision that best represents our constituents. I'll make a decision. Make a motion tonight and I'll vote.
Well, I'm not ready to do that. I mean, I think
afraid to
that we
vote.
have a little time here, but Commissioner Hoffberger, you had something as well?
Yeah, so earlier I had mentioned one of the things that I was ignorant to campaigning was the pots of money. One of the other things that I didn't know before a very informative meeting at Rhonda Dorfin's house for Pensacola Beach Advocates was, and some of you might know this, but I feel like it's worth an educational moment for those of you who don't. The SRIA board is comprised of individuals that we appoint. So those individuals are to represent the Escambia County districts and make decisions based on the money that they have from the SRIA lease fees. So I just want that out there, that we're deferring to a board to make a decision that we appoint.
But the beach is for everyone, not just the people that live on the beach.
So we should all be sharing in that tax.
No one didn't agree with that, so. Commissioner May, you have anything else?
No, I was about to clap to go home.
You just may want to clarify for the folks who are here that if you're using May 15th as a placeholder, that we would not be voting on May the 15th
No, we
to
won't.
adjust the rate
I got it,
resolutions. We
yeah.
would just be touching base on
Right,
the
we'll see what
progress.
SRA comes up, and then we'll have to have a difficult conversation potentially, or maybe not at all. So I think that's where we land tonight. And for the folks on the beach, I appreciate the passion, and thank you for coming out and enduring this. I know it's been a long night, but thank you very much. Nothing's going to happen tonight, so we'll see where we are in a couple weeks. Thank you. Without that, let's move on to the county attorney report. Allison?
There are 5 action items. I can answer any questions.
Second.
Okay. Did we have motions? Okay, please vote. Motion passes 5-0.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Our next meeting, obviously, I think everyone knows, will be on May 15th. It'll be at 1:30 after we do the Sheriff's Foundation Fund. Thanks, everyone. A very productive meeting.